and I've been like that on Clubhouse too. So all I'm saying is that let him take the L by being the asshole, okay? You don't have to sit there and take it to a place where it's going to distract people.
Kitty, this is the great thing about Kitty.
When what you're doing politically, and that's where I want to put my focus and interest on it.
You know, politically speaking, this ties into my campaign. He will be the first lawsuit against somebody that slanders, libels, and defames me. He's the first. So you'll have to listen to the actual evidence and the 2 days of slander and libel against me, as well as the death threats against Jane and many other young women on this app. So until you actually hear him using vulgarity and profanity and sociopathic death threats, as well as defaming me, I would just say, you know, hold your opinions until you actually hear the videos.
That's fair. And then Brad, if you listen to this replay, if that's really where you go, especially you can say what you want to say to John, but to a woman, I mean, I don't ever bring up, and I think it's sad and it's horrible about his wife. I would never bring up that, especially her as a woman, and then to put her down and to criticize her and wish harm on her. The fact that you would do that, Brad, if you listen to this, it's not just an injustice of your personal character, but it shows like a weakness in everything that is good that you do stand up for. So just stop. I don't care what the reasoning was, where John pushed you over the edge, because I know that he can be a smart ass sometimes. Just don't.
I guess I'm stirring the pot. You know what? Lord might be right. I guess I am kind of stirring the pot with this, but nonetheless, I'm a little upset. So, you know, maybe this is just me doing what everybody else does on this stupid app, which is emotional processing.
I wish the Lord would talk about me doing God's work right now by taking you down from like you were at 11. Or more of like, I don't know, 7.5 right now. They're still scaring me just a little bit. I'm just kidding.
Okay, we're going to invite Lord back up to continue the roast of John Kitover. Go ahead, Lord.
I'm in my 20s. And it's like, you tell me you're running for Congress? Nothing about the way that you move or like the things that I'm hearing coming out of your mouth sound presidential, you know what I'm saying? Sound.
It's not about running for president, dude.
Respectfully,
bro, I'm not running for president, bro. Respectfully, I'm running for Congress, Lord.
Respectfully, you sound like a bitch. And it's like somebody that I want to run for Congress is somebody that I want to be a solid fucking man, a solid grown man. Adult like doesn't go around clubhouse talking like a little bitch.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
An adult. No. Before John gets to go. Now you've awoken the dragon.
Dragon me, telling me some weird shit.
Hold up, John. Don't let me have this one. So hey, Lord, you've made it very, very evident before you ever even had to give your age, exactly what mental fortitude that you're using in order to use these fancy words about someone that you obviously probably, I don't even know how long you've been on Clubhouse, or if you know how to navigate like to tie your own shoes each day. But listen. I would rather trust someone that says grab her by the pussy than I would someone like Joe Biden. And if that's not diplomatic enough for you, if that doesn't work for you, Lord, someone who has to literally talk about overcompensating, someone who has to call himself Lord. I mean, like I would hold more stock and more masculinity in someone that could actually call themselves by a name than something like Lord. It's like, really, what are you trying to do here? Grow the fuck up. Tell your mom you're sorry for whatever it was that you did last week. You want to come home and that your little prodigal son.
Nobody can respect that.
Yes, but the thing is that they respect you even less. By what you're saying, they respect you far less.
Never will ever push for anybody like this to be a leader. Because you're a bitch.
So what jurisdiction? Well, first of all, what state do you live in? I don't even care what affiliation you are, right or left, blue or red. Yeah, of course, he's a bit. I didn't mean to say that. I'm sorry. I didn't. I stopped myself. But he was calling you the B word, John, and I don't think that you're a bitch. But he did kind of talk like.
Well, see, Kitty, this is where projection comes into play. Where if somebody casts vulgar dispersions against you, generally that shows their lack of self-confidence. Because if your claim is that I'm a bitch and I have no self-confidence, but you're coming here at 1 in the morning to tell me that I'm a bitch and have no self-confidence, is it really me or is it you? So that's the thing about projection, where especially when you cast dispersions on somebody, is it really worth your time to cast a dispersion on somebody and slander them? It's a you problem. So maybe that has something to do with Brad Stauffenberger as well. Maybe we've learned something here this evening.
And the room I was just in too. I mean, honestly, that's key lesson for me, and I wouldn't have came in here so red hot. I think so for sure. And if that little bitch happens to understand, if you listen to the replays on this, we don't care about your vote. No, but for everybody else that wants to help, all proceeds to, well, the link will be somewhere where you can find. I don't have it on hand.
And thank you for your campaign contribution, Kitty. It will not go to waste. I promise to you that I'm going to do a lot of the heavy lifting myself. And if you were here, I would take you up to Rockford and Peoria with me, and we would get the signatures to get on that March primary.
I'm working on getting up there, and if I can donate more, I will, and I definitely will.
Oh, don't worry about the money.
I'll get my family here because they will definitely be 100% backing you. And I don't know anybody on Clubhouse that considers themselves to have the same mindset and philosophy politically like you do. And yeah, Brad's one of them. A lot of things that you talked about, he talked about too.
I know there's a lot of things I agree with him on, but
he's so pissed off.
There's a lot of things I don't. I can just play for you. Go to Pepe's room that he just had, and you can hear what Brad's political positions are. He talks a lot of shit. He thinks he's hot shit and he knows everything. It's unbelievable. The guy is in no position of power, but yet he's got opinions on every senator and congressperson who's ruling the country. Meanwhile, he's the fucking claims manager at a children's hospital. He denies little kids their health insurance. Or he's going to the health insurance companies and fighting for the children. I'm sure there's a lot of good things about Brad, but you know what? It doesn't matter if there's 99 good things and one bad thing. I would consider the one bad thing that he has done against me is drag me for 2 days and slander me and not even have a conversation. Just vociferously word vomit out slander and defamation for 2 days straight and make death threats against women. What kind of a man makes death threats against women all day long on a social audio? Somebody with a fucking probably brain clot. So, it's not a health problem. It's a personality problem. Maybe it's a traumatic brain injury from the war. I don't know.
Well, I don't want to talk about that. I don't even want to go there. Maybe it's PTSD from losing the strongest woman in his life. My phone is dying. John, take care of you. All right, if you can hear me.
Yeah, I know a lot of people like to bring up their children or their deceased spouses, but that'll only take you so far in terms of sympathy with the campaign to elect candidate Congressman John Kitover. It won't work on my ears, because when you make death threats, either against me or against women that I know, and you defame me and slander me for 2 days straight, sorry, your management has got to know what you're doing. You're not going to get away with it when you attack me. It's just not going to happen. So, Mr. Tough Guy, I hope you like the unemployment line, because you know what? You probably won't get unemployment when you get terminated for the crimes you're committing, the laws that you're breaking, the fact that you're not working, that you're here on Clown House talking all day long, Brad. If you try to drag down somebody, they might grab you and drag you down with them. So be careful, what you say, Brad. That's all I'm saying. Okay, I'm going to leave this room open, and I hope you all have a good night. This is Texas Children's Hospital notified about Brad Stauffenberger.
I have no husband. For thou hast had 5 husbands, and he whom thou hast now is not thy husband, and that thou saidest truly. And the woman saith unto him, Sir, I perceive that thou art a prophet.
Cohabitation. In other words, she's saying, how do you know this? How do you know this about me? How do you know that I've had all of these things all of
Here is campaign-elect candidate Congressman Kitover. I just want to say Clubhouse is incredibly pathetic. After having made many recordings of Clubhouse as well as X Spaces and having exclusive content versus actual intelligence versus people who are just wasting their time doing gossip and drama and stirring pots, it's such a huge fucking waste of time. It's unbelievable. So if you kick me from your pathetic little room and you think you're actually doing anything on this app, believe me, you're not doing anything. You're wasting your time. That's the only message I have for you. So I'm waiting for Mojo's return so we can kick this campaign back off here on Clubhouse, because otherwise it's a total waste of time. And there are some pathetic ass people here who are wasting their time doing nothing. Just wanted to let it out, let everybody know my thoughts. How pathetic.
As well as it was when you first got here. That's not the attitude. And if this is going to be reduced to an economic zone, then the Republic cannot endure, right? I mean, through history we've seen. When we get to
country, and America came from those same people. America got wealthy and powerful because of the slave population that they had with them. And these slaves had created many over 5.
Man, you give your ancestors too much credit, line, because it's called the industrial age. It's mass manufacturing and automation of mechanization. I want to roll here, getting kicked from every room.
Hey, dude, which I'm from. But I think if he would have changed it, he would have called us. No, he wouldn't.
Who said he know what that?
Hey, good evening, my fellow Americans. I'd like to make a request that you donate to the campaign to elect candidate Congressman John Kitover. I will put the link in the chat. I know Uncle Ruckus is good for $10, because Uncle Ruckus and I, we go way back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was there when he escaped the monkey house known as Talking Apes and liberated himself from a group of idiots. Morons, you might call them. Stupid people. Idiots. Uncle Ruckus freed himself from living with morons on this app, but I see he's exchanged.
Good job.
Yeah,
not fucking doing that shit. I am coming in during the day.
I'm just saying that Uncle Ruckus lost one group of morons and apparently found another group of idiots.
Let's
How do so as a man, I'm asking y'all because I don't have a weenie. Is that satisfying just to be able to just like fuck it, just pay for pussy for the rest of your life, or?
Well, shit. I mean, tricking. Yeah, I mean, tricking. I mean, different men have different meanings of trick. So you'd have to, because you got some stupid niggas. You take a woman to dinner. How you tricking? So, you really have to see like what he means.
I thought it was for power trip purposes. Like I could buy you if I wanted to.
I mean, different men, like, there's different men have different meanings of it. As a man over there, like if he's in Africa, tricking and the dollar goes far, the nigga might just be buying drinks and food, right? You in America, I mean, it's just, every man's different. So I don't, you'd have to really ask him. Some niggas might be, I don't know. But we've been hearing all this manosphere talk all day, really for the last 5 days. So my question is this, at the top, is the manosphere, is it anti-black women, or is it about men's empowerment? I hear different things, right? I hear that it's about brothers getting together and trying to become better, talking about finance and fitness and being good husbands and good fathers. And then I hear some of the rhetoric, which, to be honest, is a little bit negative, right? So, and I'll be honest with you, if you ask me what I think that whatever good can be done gets overshadowed by the negativity, right? So to me, whatever good is being done, I think that it's a little bit
They've upset a few people.
Self-destructive, because it's hard for you to, if the goal is to do well and the goal is to make a profitable community and to be positive and to mentor young men and old men, I think the negativity will get in the way, if that makes any sense. But that's my opinion. But to the title, is it about, is it about anti-black women? Are we against women? Or are we about just the upliftment of men? I'd like us to talk about it. Tell me how y'all feel. Everybody's opinion is welcome. Mamiya, if you'd like to come on the stage, we'd love to have you. I'm sure you have some comments on this, so you're welcome to come up.
Well, I was always taught that a nation could never exceed its weakest link, and this was kind of like a NOI talking point. You will always be judged by the state of your women as a nation, no matter what. Especially if you are to be the leaders of that nation. So you can't have one without the other. You have to work in tandem. And so I just don't see.
Well, thankfully, I'm not a member of the nation.
I
got about an hour.
I wasn't saying you were.
Strange New Worlds comes on.
Okay, yeah. I was just speaking on those were some of the teachings that I was taught. Like you never exceed. Like even as a parent, you are only as good of a parent as you are of the children you bear as fruit. So like that kind of concept.
Well, that's nice to know. Yeah, I'm good for about an hour until Strange New Worlds comes on.
Okay, so I guess you're one of the leaders of the manosphere. So is it about anti-black women, or is it about black male empowerment?
As always, the devil's in the details, isn't it, John? I would say that it's definitely black male empowerment, no question about that. But with regard to being anti-black women, I would say it's critique of black American women. I would say it's a critique. And I think the critique is long overdue. And I think when we look at the evidence, we can see it. So, look, black women have critiqued black men for decades. Black men have taken it on the chin. Sometimes I don't even disagree with it. But the ladies are going to have to get used to the fact that it's our turn, and we're not going back, as your standard bearer last year said. We're not going back, and you just have to get used to it. You're going to have to get used to brothers expressing themselves and reflecting on whether or not what they say has a ring of truth to it. Putting on your big girl panties and getting on with the business of upping your game.
It doesn't seem like that you got to get used to it because all those manosphere dudes are dying. One of them got ball cancer. Kevin Samuel died. They're not even surviving. So ain't nobody about to get used to it. No one's listening to that. No one is. And with me, I don't give a fuck if you gonna put some old ass video. Everybody know how I look. I never ducked any. I never lied about anything about who I am and where I'm from and what I do. But I got you, homeboy. Unlike you, I'm not no broke bitch, and I guarantee you, I got you. Okay, so you ain't got to worry about that. So don't sit up there and fucking be posting no old ass video, lying, saying, "Oh, this is I that's who I am. I don't give a fuck." Like that was such a long fucking time ago, and your woman was fat, and she fucking lost the weight just like the fuck I did. So you need to shut the fuck up. Cause you the one who was talking shit about big women, and you had a big woman, and you was the one talking about baby mamas, and your woman was a baby mama. That's fucking crazy. All the shit. You the liar, and then you're the liar. You're the liar talking about you guys were at the Four Seasons. That's where y'all all stayed, and Shannon just said y'all was at the MC because the Four Seasons was too expensive.
No.
Okay, here's a few rooms at the Four Seasons.
But
you act like all the conclave members were all balling and staying at the Four Seasons. You be just lying so much.
I didn't say that.
Yes, the hell you did. Everybody heard that.
I said that. I said I stayed there. And with regard to my lady friend, I know you want to talk about her a lot. No surgery. Didn't need to go under the knife. She did it the old-fashioned way.
But what was you doing? Okay, and I'm proud, and I'm happy that she did that. What were you doing? What were you doing? Don't worry about how. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how I did it, long as it got done. It doesn't matter how I did it, as long as it got done. But the fact that you sit up there, no, it don't. Because you sit up there.
Vulgar dispersions against you, generally, that shows their lack of self-confidence. Because if your claim is that I'm a bitch and I have no self-confidence, but you're coming here at 1 a.m. to tell me that I'm a bitch and have no self-confidence, is it really me or is it you? So that's the thing about projection, where especially when you cast dispersions on somebody, is it really worth your time to cast a dispersion on somebody and slander them? It's a you problem. So maybe that has something to do with Brad Stauffenberg as well. Maybe we've learned something here.
And the room I was just in, too. I mean, honestly, that's
to notify his
a
management
key
team.
lesson for me. And when I came in here so red hot,
Brad Stauffenberg,
yeah,
who makes
I think
regular
so.
death threats on
Sure.
set.
And if that little bitch happens, I'm just kidding.
I'd expect Friday would probably
If you listen to the replays on this, we don't care about your vote. Well, but for everybody else that wants to help all proceeds to, the link will be somewhere where you can find it. I don't have it on yet.
And thank you for your campaign contribution, Kitty. It will not go to waste. I promise you that I'm going to do a lot of the heavy lifting myself. And if you were here, I would take you up to Rockford and Peoria with me, and we would get the signatures to get on that March primary.
I'm working on getting up there, and if I can donate more, I will. And I definitely will.
Oh, don't worry about the money.
If not, I'll get my family.
I'm not gonna let you get away with threatening to kill my friend Jane, or Bima, or Monica. You're no gentleman. You're just a crude, paganistic Viking. And Friday, you'll probably be an unemployed, crude, paganistic Viking. as I said earlier, good luck. God bless. If you come across this room, anybody, be sure to retweet. Click that link above and retweet so the hospital knows for sure that they see it. I'm going to let this room stay open all night so people can retweet and enjoy. Oh, look, it's Lord. Hey, Lord. Click the link.
Somebody casts vulgar dispersions against you, generally that shows their lack of self-confidence. Because if your claim is that I'm a bitch and I have no self-confidence, but you're coming here at 1 a.m. to tell me that I'm a bitch and have no self-confidence, is it really me or is it you? So that's the thing about projection, where especially when you cast aspersions on somebody, is it really worth your time to cast a dispersion on somebody and slander them? It's a you problem. So maybe that has something to do with Brad Stauffenberg as well. Maybe we've learned something here.
And the room I was just in, too. I mean, honestly, that's a key lesson for me. And I wouldn't came in here so red hot. And yeah, I think so. For sure. And if that little bitch has, I'm just kidding. If you listen to the replays on this, we don't care about your vote. But for everybody else that wants to help, all proceeds to the link will be somewhere where you can find it. I don't have it on me.
Thank you for your campaign contribution, Kitty. It will not go to waste. I promise you that I'm going to do a lot of the heavy lifting myself. And if you were here, I would take you up to Rockford and Peoria with me, and we would get the signatures to get on that march primary.
I'm working on getting up there, and if I can donate more, I will. And I definitely will.
But don't worry about the money.
If not, I'll get my family, because they will definitely be 100% backing me. And I don't know anybody on Clubhouse that considers themselves to have the same mindset and philosophy politically like you do. And yeah, Brad's one of them. A lot of things that you talk about, he talks about too.
I know, there's a lot of things I agree with him on, but
it's fine.
There's a lot of things I don't. I can just play for you. Go to Pepe's room that he just had. You can hear what Brad's political positions are. He talks a lot of shit. He thinks he's hot shit and he knows everything. The guy is in no position of power, but yet he's got opinions on every senator and congressperson who's ruling the country. Meanwhile, he's a fucking claims manager at a children's hospital. He denies little kids their health insurance. Or he's going to the health insurance companies and fighting for the children. I'm sure there's a lot of good things about Brad, but you know what? It doesn't matter if there's 99 good things and one bad thing. I would consider the one bad thing that he has done against me is drag me for 2 days and slander me. And not even have a conversation. Just vociferously word vomit out slander and defamation for 2 days straight and make death threats against women. What kind of a man makes death threats against women all day long on social life? Somebody with a fucking probably brain clot. So it's not a health problem, it's a personality problem. Maybe it's a traumatic brain injury from the war. I don't know.
Well, I don't want to talk about that. I don't even want to go there. Maybe it's PTSD from losing the strongest woman in his life. My phone is dying. John, take care of you. All right? If you can hear me.
Yeah, I know a lot of people like to bring up their children or their deceased spouses, but that'll only take you so far in terms of sympathy with the campaign elected candidate Congressman John Kitover. It won't work on my ears. Because when you make death
Brad
threats,
spends 50 years a week talking politics on Clubhouse, where he breaks the law by making regular death threats and defaming and slandering a candidate John Kitover.
So, Mr. Tough Guy, I hope you like the unemployment line, because you know what? You probably won't get unemployment when you get terminated for the crimes you're committing, the laws that you're breaking, the fact that you're not working, that you're here on Clown House talking. If you try to drag down somebody, they might grab you and drag you down. So, be careful what you say, Brad. That's all I'm saying.
doxes. Everybody gets doxed. It's safe space for narcissistic black people. Hey y'all, I ain't black, but I'm narcissistic. Can I be a part of the black narcissist party?
I'm so weak. Are you a narcissist? How are you a narcissist?
I'm
Military?
filing a lawsuit against the Clubhouse user who slandered me for the past 2 days. Does that make me a narcissist?
How are you gonna do that when you don't even know who they really are? Come on.
Oh, I know who they are. I got their LinkedIn and everything. I know the hospital they work at. They're fucked.
Wow.
Yeah, let me put it on my PTR. You can take a look at this asshole, because he's a narcissist son of a bitch. Let me show you his face, his ugly fucking face. Look at this
I might know him.
ugly motherfucker. Ugly motherfucker.
She said, is he really white? I don't know. He might be white.
He an ugly. He's an Irish beer drinking, shepherd's pie eating
Oh, he look like he ain't about
motherfucker.
shit though. He on Clubhouse? What the fuck is
Oh
that?
yeah, his name's Brad
Where he at on
Stauffenberger.
Clubhouse?
Oh, he all around. He comes up here. He makes death threats to women on the app all the time.
Oh, where I be at? Mango, where these people be at on Clubhouse? I never seen that part. Is there like another side? You know what? Now there's multiple sides. Oh, wait, Shawty. I'm convinced that Clubhouse is there now. It might be. It might be. Cause I barely ever stumble. I was like, where do white people go? I don't never see a room somewhere. Yeah, they used to have a lot of rooms before. They did. I used to be in that little goo resident. Me too. Or I'll be on the stage. They had a stage that was what is it called? When you're impromptu comedy, is it a name for it? I don't know why it just went out of my head. I used to be in that little love and light rooms. That's what I used to be. Yeah, and now all they have is a lot of these rooms that you're just listening to, like some video. Yeah. Those are a lot of the rooms that I see now. They even used to have real estate motherfuckers on here. Yup, they did.
We back. We back.
Oh, hey, Serendipity, click the link above. I've decided to notify Brad's management team at the Texas Children's Hospital in Houston that he comes down here and makes death threats and libels and slanders me, so be sure to retweet. Thanks, Serendipity. And if you talk to Brad, make sure you let him know I've notified his management at Texas Children's Hospital.
Very quick and easy.
Admittedly, the legislation that Roncana and I
Right? He's not buying protection for Palestine, right? He's not buying.
A good point. He's going to get some ROI on his on his money he's putting in.
Yeah. So again, like he invested in all these district attorneys for the last several years all around the United States. He owns all these district attorneys, and where there's all this chaos going on around the United States. And he's doing a lot of things in Europe and all around the world with his Open Society Foundation. I just want people to think: when have you ever known George Soros to not make money on his investments or not get something in return for for his activism? Especially when he's putting tens of millions of dollars into it continuously for several years. What's he buying? He's not buying, Palestinian solidarity or a state for Palestine, right? He's buying the deflection of blame away from Jews. He's buying protection of Jewish.
It really is at times, because Soros is so demonized, rightfully so. But a lot of people, especially the MAGA people, a lot of people don't realize he's even a Jew. They just default to Soros, rightfully so. But then I talked to
George Schwartz, he changed his name too.
Did he really? Of course. They
Absolutely, of course.
Unbelievable.
And do you really believe his story that when he was 12 or 13 years old, was relied on him, little 12, 13-year-old, to point out whose wealth they should strip? People actually buy into that bullshit story. Anyway,
yeah, just like the whole.
The magnitude of the lies they tell him, yeah, because he was so smart, or his dad was so smart, they were able to change up his identity and get him an ID saying he was Christian. That's why they entrusted him, and they needed his intelligence to figure out who's who in the concentration camp so they could steal that person's wealth. And he still repeats that bold-faced lie to this day. So it's just incredible to me that gaslighter like Soros is doing nothing but cause havoc and currency destruction and destroy economies by bidding against various currencies like the pound, of course, and currencies in Thailand and Cambodia to destroy those economies. And he's proud of it. He's proud of the fact that he's reinvested his wealth into like NAACP or BLM and all these divisive movements just so he can create race wars. And then sit there and laugh, and then they'll also hire instigators to go and infiltrate these college campus rallies and turn them into riots. So the cops are. That's how they're winning.
Yep,
absolutely.
Can you remind me who our Treasury Secretary destroys them? He gets his guys replaced. Can you remind everybody who our Treasury Secretary is? The lovely guy, Mr. Scott Bessick.
Scott Bessick. He's used his prodigy for one of them. He's got many.
Yep, worked for him for 40 years. I think he still does. Helped crash the
He's homosexual too, I believe, right?
Yeah, I think he's a Jew. I thought I was 100% correct on that. Not 100% correct. I think he's a Jew. I'm
not sure if he's a Jew. He's a homosexual. I'm not sure if he's a Jew. He's probably another Peter Thiel.
Yes, exactly. He's another Peter Thiel. So he's a Jew in spirit who's a homosexual that adopted 2 kids like Dave Rubin through surrogacy. And he helped Soros crash the pound in 1992. As, again, like I said all the time, the dollar's lost 97% of its buying value. And like we were talking about with Sam earlier, as Jews say, our future lies with the rising east, and China's got all these new bridges, these new transportation systems, everything. As Americans, there's drug addicts all over the street. And I just want people to be consistent. It's like they hate when Soros people are in Biden's administration, rightfully so. But when Trump has the guy that's in charge of our fucking monetary system, being a Soros guy, that's probably not a good idea. Never mind the fact that, again, he has specialties in crashing dollars and pounds and all that, as we're on the way to probably crashing the dollar. But I digress for now.
I just want to reiterate, because I get a massive knowledge of it's very twisty, turny, and involved. I just want people to understand this. There is a movement that opposes Israel that's called anti-Zionism. Right? If you're an intelligence agency, if you're a government, if you're the government of Israel, if you're the intelligence agencies over Israel, and there's this worldwide movement that's against you, what are you going to do about it? How are you going to manage that? Well, obviously, they're going to engage in subversion, infiltration, the best way to defeat the opposition is to lead it ourselves, right? This is classic intelligence operations. So you have to think, you have to use your brain and understand that, okay, there's an anti-Zionist movement that opposes Israel. That means Israel is going to try to get control of that opposition and lead it themselves so that it can't amount to anything. Of course that's what they're going to do, right? Of course that's what they're going to do. You have to understand that. You have to be able to see that. And it turns out that, that entire anti-Zionist space. And you've got like people like Miko Peled, whose dad was a general in the IDF, hero of the Six-Day War in 1967, who then all of a sudden becomes anti-Zionist, and his son is now an anti-Zionist running around calling Israel white supremacy. You know, and they, you know, so it's just, we have to get sophisticated here and understand that of course they're going to try to contain these things. Of course they're going to try to get control of them, right? So that they won't amount to anything. They're going to try and steer them. Well, how are you going to do that? Right? How are you going to do that? Well, it turns out there's 6 major anti-Zionist organizations in the world, and 4 of them are led and funded by Jews. So like it's like, hello, McFly, you know. And oh, and by the way, they use all the anti-Zionist rhetoric that Soviet intelligence used during the Cold War in the KGB that was being run by Jews on the Committee for Anti-Zionism, right? So you had anti-Zionist Jews in the Soviet Union leading the anti-Zionist movement, and now you have this curiously, this Jewish-led anti-Zionist movement that is like blaming everybody but Jews for Israel, right? So put the pieces together, people. You've got to see these pieces and see how they fit together.
QAnon and the White Hats are going to save us, just like Operation Trust with the Bolsheviks and the White Army is going to save us.
There you go.
Everybody sit back and relax. You're all good to go.
Yes.
Control. Hillary's in Guantanamo.
And by the way, this goes back to 1920 in Winston Churchill's famous op-ed, Zionism versus Bolshevism, struggle for the soul of the Jewish people. These 2 factions of Jews have been duking it out over whose vision for worldwide Jewry is better. The Zionists or the Bolsheviks, the left-wingers versus the right-wingers, right? And they've been duking it out for decades, right? And so but Zionism is mostly one. You still have this small, you know, sincere faction of, you know, probably rank and file Jewry who does believe in anti-Zionism, and they absolutely do want a 2-state solution, and a lot of them it's because they fear for their family and their Jewish family and brethren in Israel. Like they want peace, so that their brethren in Israel are no longer in danger, right? That's part of it too. My point is that these movements have been shanghaied, they've been subverted, they're being controlled, money's being funneled, NGOs are involved, the ADL's involved, strategic paid influencers and bot operations are involved, and they've taken control of it. And it's a very, very small group of Jews doing it. But the returns are massive because you have like billions of people in the world that are, every day you get on Twitter or on the other social media platforms and you hear about how Israel's a bunch of settler colonialism from Europe. And these Israeli Islamo-fascist Nazis and these Zio-Nazis. And Netanyahu's like Hitler.
Oh my God, I hate the Jackson.
This is all
Jackson Hinkle one.
Yeah, and if you blame Jews, then they'll attack you. They'll attack you for being anti-Semitic. Well, it's not all Jews, you know. And so they're getting wild ROI on this anti-Zionist operation.
They'll sacrifice their own like October 7th. And the festival.
Yeah, who cares? What's a few broken eggs, right? Big deal. They do this, right? They're ruthless, even to their own, you know, for the greater cause. So my point is, people, you have to see that, you have to know that intelligence agencies and governments are going to try to control the opposition against them. How are they going to do it? I'm explaining to you how they're going to do it, and I'm showing you that Soviet intelligence did it already. Like Jews in Soviet intelligence already did it. So they literally just like they moved their shop from the Soviet Union over to Israel after the fall of the Soviet Union, brought it on over, and business as usual, just kept it going, right? And it's very useful because it blames white people and Christians and Europeans for all the problems instead of Judaism and Jewish supremacy. And it splits the anti-Zionist left from uniting with the anti-Semitic right. Now, if you can imagine, what would happen if the left and the right come together against worldwide organized Jewish supremacy? But we can't, because we're fighting with each other. One side's anti-white, one side's anti-Muslim, one side's anti-Israel, one side's anti-Semitic. It's like they can't come together, right? They wanted us to vote for Sheinbaum, but Jill Stein, the anti-Zionist Jill Stein. Well, what did she want to do? She wanted to amnesty all the tens of millions of illegals in the United States and establish more immigration courts and bring in more immigrants and like just continue this flood of demographic transformation into the United States. This is what anti-Zionist Jews, show me an anti-Zionist Jew and I'll show you a Jew who's anti-white and who wants to flood country with multiculturalism, right? show me a Zionist Jew, and they want to constantly take the United States to war. And anyway, so
they're damn good at what they do.
We just can't come together because, like Sean King, he's doing this great work exposing this pedophile in Vegas, right? But Sean King is this lefty shit-lit anti-white guy, right? There's a white guy posing as a black guy because he hates white people and he pushes anti-whiteism, right? Anti-capitalism and all these types of things. And so they're like these shit-lit, we call them shit-lit lefties. I'm saying that just, quote unquote. And it's just really distasteful to people on the right, the anti-Semite nationalists on the right. They don't want to have anything to do with those people because, they're anti-white, they're anti-American, and they're communists. Why are they communists? Because for decades the Soviet Union was like seeding these groups and these movements with communism. Right? That's what they were doing. So we're still reaping the fruits of like decades of, global Soviet intelligence operations. And in the universities, and international jury is a vector that they worked through while the Soviet Union existed. They were working through international Jewry. Soviet Union goes away, guess what? International Jewry still exists, right?
I can't tell you how many people I saw the other day, including that faggot Cock Drogo who's still buying the QAnon fucking psyop somehow and pushing it, although he's got to be paid to do it, like Liz Crokin. But he was saying, you guys really gonna
absolve Trump of any blame for that prosecutor? Tom Alexandrovich was released just speaking through the local DA and had nothing to do with Trump's intervention acting on behalf of Israel. I mean, that's just not far gone news. They'll never hold Trump accountable for his clear guilt involved in allowing for this Jewish pedophile to escape justice. And it's not even the first time. I mean, this has happened routinely. Sam, real quick before I forget, we had a subversive in here earlier. He was trying to chase after you, thinking that you're trying to get him canceled. I didn't know anything about him, but you were tied up at the time. We dropped him anyway, and he's likely listening in the tunnels. I think you know who he is. His name starts Andrew. I think you know who he is.
Andrew Meyer.
I've never heard of her. I don't know who you're talking about. Never heard of her.
Let's not presume the gender. Okay, well, if you never heard of her, then he's probably got you mistaken with someone else. But he came up here gunning for you.
But don't tase me, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the one, yeah.
I don't know who you're talking about. I didn't hear anything about that. I don't even know who that is.
See no evil. Okay, well, let's clarify. I'm sure the tunnel rats will be relieved now because they're scared that they might get their accounts canceled because that's going to happen to a Jew, right? Yeah, sure. All right, well, Sam, we have an aspiring Congressman John here. Maybe he can get some tips from you on how to manage without taking the APAC money. He's trying to make it to Congress. Go ahead, John.
Yeah, I'm not taking APAC money, unlike Darren LaHood. I mean, if APAC called and said, hey, here's $50,000 like they do to Darren LaHood every year, I mean, you know what? Maybe I would take that money to run attack ads against Darren LaHood. But speaking of Andrew Meyer, don't tase me, bro. I know Andrew Meyer from Clubhouse, where I made a lot of recordings of Andrew Meyer talking about 9/11 and how it was an inside job and a huge cover-up. So he reported my YouTube account and got my YouTube account clipped. Andrew Meyer. So anyways, but yes, I am running for Congress here in the state of Illinois in the 16th district against Darren LaHood, and I'm waging war against all kinds of dragons that just appear out of nowhere and attack you all day long, try to defame you, slander you, libel you. It's unbelievable, the pieces of shit in this world who call themselves Trump, MAGA, or Republicans. They basically, people have a lot of personal problems, and I think a lot of people project them onto you as you talk to them in social audio spaces. So I think that's probably one of the issues that goes on in the social audio ecosystem, is that there's a lot of projection and very little actual information. Nobody reads books. Nobody does grok queries. Everybody is literally just like on the warpath to project and attack. That's what I have observed over the past 48 hours.
Yeah, John, I'm not sure if you heard Diligent Space earlier. Had Congressman Massey on, and he mentioned that he's demanded for the Epstein files to be released. He had a personal conversation with Pam Bondi himself. He said something will get released. There's a news release that something might get disclosed. Who knows? Will likely be redacted anyway. What are your thoughts on the Epstein files?
Yeah, I heard the whole Thomas Massey interview with Diligent Citizen today. I recorded it, created all kinds of clips on YouTube. He says September 3rd is when they're back into Congress, and I think he said end of September, mid-September. they're going to have their press conference on the front steps of Congress. But he said he's also going to do a drop, that they have some juicy gossip which is going to cause a major problem, some type of poison pill that he says he's going to drop. So, you know, I just, the fact, I just think all this stuff is going to get redacted and you'll never see it, because I guarantee you that Jeffrey Epstein was playing both sides of the fence. He was doing espionage, first of all, for himself, for his own personal power and his own personal blackmailing and financial arrangements. And then B and C, he was probably, or even D, he was probably doing intelligence gathering and payoffs with not just Israel, but also the UK, and Prince Andrew, etc. So Epstein was the man in terms of carrying out international espionage, blackmail, manipulation on behalf of a lot of people, and also himself. The guy was worth $800-something million.
Real quick, John, 1 second. What the glitch is going on? True. Do you see how many people are in the space? It says 2,780 for me. I don't know what the fuck's
Yeah, we're getting botted.
now.
I mean, that's what happens when you rely on an Israeli company check to deal with bots. They'll attack a space they don't like, so.
What the fuck? What the?
Welcome to the Jewish bot attack.
What does that do? Doesn't that put you to the
4,000 now, yeah. Damn bots.
It's fine. Don't let it bother you. It'll pass. Comes and goes.
I mean,
Sorry, John.
I would
That was
go.
wild.
I would go as far as to say that Epstein may have even been involved with who was the owner of the Twin Towers?
Larry Silverstein.
I would be well. I don't know what the connection is there, or if he has any. But if Epstein is that high up and he had
Well, Lutnick, Epstein, and of course, what's his name? Larry Silverstein all knew not to go to the towers that day.
Well,
and you're aware that Epstein's neighbor was Howard Lutnick. They live right next door to each other in New York. And we know Lutnick knew not to go to work that day, even though 658 of his employees did. They got wiped out. And because he had to take his kid to kindergarten, supposedly. And Silverstein, he had to go to his dermatology appointment. Epstein likely wasn't around at the time. Well, he was busy doing his human trafficking or whatever it is he was up to that day. So, yeah, there's absolutely a connection there. And plus, they were both bankrolled by Les Wexner, in addition to Mike Jeffries. I'm not sure if you read about my thread on him. Are you aware he's being prosecuted for human trafficking as well? Through his connection he was the CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch, which is owned by L Brands, that, of course, Lex Wexner controls. He's also Jewish, by the way.
He's a
And
freak.
I never knew Epstein lived next to, or Lutnick lived next to Epstein for 23 or 24 years.
Right next door, from 98 till...
That's wild.
And his home was gifted to him, by the way, for $10 and considerable offering. And then he took out a loan for $4 million, which he paid back in 2018. So Wexner gifted Lutnick a home. What do you think of that, John?
Huh. Sorry, Heidi, did you get up here? Heidi, when you disconnect, I'll send you a mic because she can't get up
There
here.
are 7,600 listeners. So what kind of swarm attack would you call this on an X? 9,000 listeners. There are 9,000 listeners now. This is incredible.
Hey, everybody, just go follow me. Everybody, if those people are real, they'll go follow me.
Yeah,
If they don't
follow
me,
all the
real.
speakers, Mr. Bot, so we don't have to pay for fake followers like everybody else.
What the hell does that do, though? Does it, discredit the space or something? And now Heidi can't connect.
I think if everybody leaves and joins at the same time, it kind of gets reported and the space can get knocked or something like that.
Yeah, it can crash the space.
It's a DDoS. They're trying to DDoS the room.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
But, X is a big platform, and chances are 10,000 listeners won't crash it.
They don't like it when we start exposing their intelligence operations.
No, it's when they join at the same time or leave at the same time that it sometimes crashes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they bought these bots. It doesn't cost very much to do it, but I think they have an allergy towards exposure of the Epstein files because they really want to move past it without any accountability. So,
But don't be
we'll keep
surprised.
talking about it.
Don't be surprised if it's probably not even Israel that's doing this. You do realize it's probably our own government that is trying to DDoS the room right now.
Or some of their Indians as well, the programmers they hire, because you realize Israel does outsource a lot of its IT services to India. They'll do their dirty work and bidding for a small price. their labor is a lot cheaper, so it could be the
Yeah,
Indian programmers.
where do you think all these vaccines came from for COVID-19? I saw videos of Indian manufacturers that made tens of billions of dollars from U.S. taxpayer money to poison us with vaccines manufactured in India.
Well, I mean, but let's be honest. There was the Jewish-run Pfizer that made over $100 billion just in 2022 alone, just from the mRNA vaccine alone. Of course, they've been criminally fined, but nobody's been fined for the COVID vaccine. And there was the CMO there who was also pushing in as well. So
He's got one in it. Admitting that they
RFK wrote a book and claimed that it increased the rates for Jews while it decreased rates for whites and others, right?
He's stuck on connecting. Hi, you're stuck, so I'm going to remove you from the space real quick, and then hopefully that'll unglitch you.
Send her a mic.
She's like, does it say connecting for you? It's spinning?
It does.
Well, I already sent her a mic, and I told her to resend.
Okay.
So
DDoS thing's fucking up. Yeah, true.
I'm gonna ask
John,
Brock.
Look at Dr. Stanley Plotkin. He's the father of vaccines. He's been in the game for 4 decades.
How you can
He's
do
the one who
emojis,
made the claim that none of these vaccines have been tested for safety, and yet they're still marketed as if they are safe, even though they cause all kinds of side effects. They've only been widespread in use since the 1970s. We went from like 3 or 4 vaccines to over 70.
You know what's crazy too?
Insane.
Yeah, 72 of them. Which, like I said all the time, people that don't know and all the bots, you can hear it. If you give your children all 72 quote-unquote vaccines, because again, they're not, because they've never been tested and they're fucking not vaccines, they don't work. You're giving them 13,000 micrograms of aluminum, 600 micrograms of mercury, which is fantastic, and 200 chemicals to baby aborted fetal cells, formaldehyde, like egg yolk or whatever, so then you get all these allergies and you're sucking big pharmafia your whole life. And then the way they juke the stats too, I found this out last week, like they did with the pandemic with the mRNA vaccine, they said you technically weren't vaccinated until 2 weeks after your second vaccine. So if you fucking just pulled a Tiffany Dover and died after your first quote-unquote vaccine, I call it quote-unquote because it's obviously not, especially that one's literally not, got voted in the 9th District of 9th Circuit Court in D.C. like a year and a half ago said that it's not a vaccine, it's gene therapy, aka gene editing. But if you were, after your second dose of mRNA, if you died within 14 days, you were not, or had a side effect basically within 14 days, it did not count, you're not counted as vaccinated. And they do the same thing for the childhood vaccines. If you die within the I believe it's first 2 weeks, you are not considered, it's not considered a death, because the number is crazy. It's like, I'll have to find it, but I don't know if I have it. It's like something like 70 to 76% of SID, sudden infant death syndrome, happens in the first 2 weeks, but they don't count it as a death because they just juke and rig the stats because they say that you're not vaccinated because they know that it's going to kill people within children within the first 2 weeks, babies within the first 2 weeks. So that's how they rig it, and then nobody knows better, and they're still fucking poisoning their children every day. All right, how do you try to figure it out?
Thanks for that super chat. I'll read out what you wrote. Thank you for the space, the hard work every day you and Joanne put in. Since you're here a couple days a week, you can challenge anyone who cares about the future of humanity in America to go to the nest and toss Truth $5 for the Spaces threads he does daily. We got to help our own. Appreciate that. Appreciate the support, and I'll keep doing it. The support's great, but I feel an obligation to expose as much truth as possible. Hopefully, till the day, while my account's so active, so I'll keep at it. Appreciate your support, though, and thanks for that vote of confidence as well.
You're welcome. And everybody, go up there, put your money where the mouth is in the front of the nest. I won't go on a rant like I did the other day because I don't want to sound like fucking, I don't want to have people hit me up saying, well, you and Truth Teller's putting you up to this. No, obviously he's fucking not. And whatever, it doesn't matter. People already know. But you already explained it the other day. You've got to help our own, put our money where your mouth is. $5 at least. If you're not going to subscribe, go up there, toss him $5 for the amount of work that he puts in. And again, including Joanne, Tyler, and all these people that come up, especially Joanne, every single day, staying up late nights with me. Possibly after this, if I open up space with OC, hopefully, and other people and stuff. So go up there, toss $5, and let me figure out Heidi here.
Dude, I literally blocked her from the space to remove her and then let her back in, and she's still in limbo. Like, she's just stuck there. It's crazy.
I know, we brought Prashana. It must be her connection. Not sure where she is. But,
Gotta be your connection.
John, is there anything else you want to add?
No, I just thought the Thomas Massey thing today was fantastic news. It seems like he's well organized, and the fact that he's coming on X to speak about these things publicly is great news. And it's a shame that he's the only one, that you really see in Congress. Again, the guy that I'm running against, Darren LaHood, takes APAC money. He pushes the vaccine on all his constituents. He said, if you don't get vaxxed, this pandemic will never end, and you'll never be able to go back to work. So that's the type of asshole he is. But yet people will probably still continue voting on him. But over the next couple weekends, I'll be driving to Rockford and Peoria. So if there's anybody in Illinois that wants to help get petitions signed to defeat rhino vaccinologist Darren LaHood, please follow me, message me, and I'll send you details on where we're going to be and how we're going to get signatures. Thanks, everybody.
Good luck to you, John. Hope it all goes well and be safe. Those APAC guys are pretty ruthless. Thomas Massey will be the first to tell you saw it happen with his wife. Unfortunately, God rest her soul, just for exposing APAC and the fact that all congressmen that take APAC money end up getting their handlers as well. It's babysitters, so.
Yeah, we sure are pretty far ahead of the other ones. I'm scrolling, because I know you followed me back, scrolling through some of the timelines. So you got that lovely Vivid guy talking about October 7th and all that, but we can save that for another day. But Tisha, did you want to jump in, because you're always quick, and then we'll go to my guy, William.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I appreciate it. It's obvious history repeats itself. I love that you guys brought up Operation Trust, because there's a whole lot of people making money off selling that Q nonsense. Liz Crokin, she will never, ever mention Branson. Isn't that interesting? Why?
Yeah, because she went to his island.
She went to his island, absolutely.
Hanging out with the Bronfmans there, Sarah and Claire.
Yeah. She'll never bring it up. I've tried to. I cornered her. She will not speak on it. I mentioned. I actually posted something below about the $500 billion for the Stargate project. That's below. If anybody wants to read about that. And I wanted to mention. I'm sure you guys know about this, but it's so crazy. That Trump decided to put back up the Albert Pike statue. Is that paying homage to the grandfather of Freemasonry? I don't know. I'm just putting it up there. It's crazy. But to what Jonathan said earlier about doing something, Megan Walsh was in the room earlier. And she's started a project called Better Ways. It's just basically doing, simple, keeping things better, and doing it in better ways locally, where you just help each other out, like giving a single mom a ride or whatever it is. Just doing small things for the community to help each other out. So. I just wanted to add those things in real quick. And what do you guys think of the Albert Pike thing? I mean, is it obvious? Like, hello? Like, he's paying homage. I think so.
He's just part of trying to fulfill that end of times prophecy they really want to achieve, right? So, Albert Pike made that, Third World War prediction, besides the first two. And Trump's probably part of the self-fulfillment part of it. He's the one that's going to possibly get us into that ultimate Third World War, so this way the Jews can end up, building the third temple and get their Messiah here and wipe out 2/3 of humanity. So, I don't know. There's probably some symbolism behind it, but, everything Trump does is usually as a result of a directorate from above. He does as his paymasters tell him to do, so I don't really pay too much credence with what he says and does. Like, look at him right now, just squirming and worried and insulting people over the Epstein list, just completely losing credibility within his own base, just from the way he's talking now.
100%. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you.
I have Morals and Dogma by Albert Pike, and I gotta admit, it is a pretty interesting book. Freemasonry was very popular in America in the 1860s all the way up to 1920s, 30s. The first skyscraper in Chicago was a Freemason building, so Freemasonry in America and the world is an interesting history in itself.
Yeah, agreed. All right, I think it was William, and then Prashant. Go ahead, William.
Hey, Truth, how are you? Great space here. I truly enjoyed listening to that speaker, Sam Parker. First time I heard him, really good. I like how he doesn't just recite statistics and this and that, but he presents in the way where people who may be hesitant about J-pilling others now not have just the confidence, but they're armed with the reality and the I don't even say talking points, the logical conclusions presented, and I think they'll feel less alone. That's what the Jew wants. They want you to feel alone when bringing this up, and so I hope a lot of people took heed of that. I certainly did. Second thing, I don't know if y'all just know, 5-6 hours ago, the Cracker Barrel logo was sent through a Jew filter. Now, the new Cracker Barrel logo omits the white man with the barrel to the left, and the words "Old Country Store" have been omitted. You don't want that. I mean, you walk into a store, old country store, you're not going to expect to see some blue-haired, cuffed-out lady, pierced-up tattoo doesn't give a shit. And, of course, the CEO of the Cracker Barrel is a Jewess, Julie something. And, unbelievable. And one final thing. If anyone has information on this, I have this theory that David Portnoy and Michael Rappaport are the same Jew. So if anyone has information on that, please forward it to me. Anyway, great space, and that's it. I land there.
They probably have common ancestry, maybe the same grandparents, great-grandparents from all the inbreeding. That's why they look similar. No, they're separate people for sure. None of them can act, and somehow they made it. I think Rappaport is more dependent on getting his George Soros funding, just where he can promote Israel all the time and deny things like apartheid. Whereas Portnoy is just he's just a nut job, man.
They say Michael Rappaport's herpes sore on his lip has infected over 8,000 people.
Sure, it's not 6 million.
Is that for real, John? 8,000?
At a minimum. I mean, I'm just making a joke.
Yeah, don't stare at it too long on your phone screen, or it passes through the cyberspace.
If he's on X, the space becomes contagious. Be careful, guys. Don't get too close.
Liz Grogan claims to have brain damage from that. From getting a fever sore or whatever you call it, herpes on her lip. She claims to have brain damage from it. She does.
Look how the room went down to 492 people after that DDoS attack. That was wild. I've never seen that on X before.
I've seen it get much higher, like 50, 60,000 in big spaces.
Yeah, I guess we're not that big of a deal yet. We'll work our way up.
Other than 8,000 bot attack, that's respectable though. That's nothing to sneeze at. You're definitely you're onto something there.
So how do you, let me ask you a question. How do you defend against being labeled a Jew hater, anti-Semite, knowing that if Israel wants to stop any type of American organizing in terms of stopping funding, stopping weaponry, I mean, basically the status, a lot of people want the status quo to stay the same. So I'm just wondering, how do you defend against being labeled, anti-Semitic?
Talking about the country or a person?
Here as a person here on Spaces doing, patriotic activities, because, if you believe that 9/11 was an inside job or a cover-up or a Mossad operation, or you believe all the subsequent wars and all the spending was a plot to essentially protect Israel from Saddam Hussein, from Gaddafi, from all these people that wanted to destroy Israel, I'm just wondering, how do you as an American who is a patriotic American firster, how do you defend against the label of being anti-Semitic?
Well, first of all, you can't worry about being called a name. That's number one. I get called a Nazi, anti-Semite, Jew hater, a racist, probably or some combination every day, literally every day. You have to, number one, not be worried about it or let it phase you. Although I do acknowledge that if it's new for you, it will be jarring, it will be dispiriting, it might hurt a little bit, because most people have good hearts and nice people, and they don't, want to be called these vile smears, quote unquote vile smears. But number one, you just got to be tough, and who cares what they call you? Just like when you're a kid, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That's number one. Number two, if somebody calls you a Jew hater, there's different ways of dealing with that. One way you can deal with it is like, name the Jews I hate. Like if you're in a conversation or somebody accuses you of being a Jew hater, say, name the Jews I hate. Put them on the spot. Tell them to tell you and list the Jews that you hate. And they won't be able to, probably. Does anybody really hate like Stan Lee? I mean, maybe some hardcore anti-Semites and white nationalists maybe hate Stan Lee, the comic strip, artist, the comic creator, Fantastic Four, X-Men, these types of things. I mean, does anybody hate Stan Lee? Does anybody hate William Shatner, Captain Kirk, I mean, maybe some people do, but there's, the point is like, do you hate Jews or do you disapprove of certain actions and behaviors, right? So if somebody accuses you of being a Jew hater, just say, okay, name the Jews I hate, and that usually shuts them up. That's one strategy. There are others, but you'll figure it out as you go. And if they call you, and by the way, everybody should remember this if you don't know it. If you get called a Nazi, a Jew hater, an anti-Semite, a fascist, a Holocaust denier, a Hamas supporter, a terrorist, or half a dozen other names, these all just mean that Jews don't like you. That's what it means, right? And that if you oppose Jews or Jewish power or Jewish agendas, they will smear you with one of these labels. And usually the label tells you what you're running afoul of. Like, if you're supporting Palestine too much, well, now you're a Hamas supporter or you're a terrorist. If you say, well, wait a second, maybe the Third Reich had some good economic ideas, maybe National Socialism wasn't all bad. Well, now you're a Nazi, right? If you want to close the border, and control immigration and deport people, you're a white supremacist, you're a fascist, right? But these all mean the same thing. They all mean that you oppose Jews and Jewish supremacy and Jewish power and Jewish agendas. That's what it means. It means that they hate you. That's what it means. And they'll always attack, strike out and cry out in pain as they attack. That's what they're doing when they call you those things, right? So, you just can't be fazed by the names they call you. You have to remember, like, when they call you these names, it means you're usually over the target.
Yep.
And just keep pushing forward anyway. And if they really challenge you and you want to strike back, just say, okay, name the Jews I hate, and make them name some Jews you hate. And they probably won't be able to name any Jews that you hate, because it's quite likely that you don't really have a visceral hatred for any specific Jew. Maybe a few, maybe there's a few. And if there are, then you can be sanguine about it and say, I hate them. They sent the SWAT team to my house 9 times in 4 days, like they did to Lucas Gage. Maybe then you say, well, maybe I hate some Jews.
Yeah, Sam nailed it. Also, the way I go about it is don't give it any attention. Just ignore it for the most part, because they want you to fight back. Then they get you caught up in it.
Yeah, mine is if you must engage, that's a strategy. But normally I just ignore it, just block and move on or ignore.
You can just cite Shulamit Aloni. She was a former Knesset minister and won some Israeli Person of the Year award. And she stated clearly on this one episode of Democracy Now! That, anti-Semitism, that's a trick that we use to stifle legitimate criticism of Israel. And so it's just resorting to ad hominem, essentially, to, again, try to demoralize you and stop you from just observing and noticing criminal behavior.
She divided that. In Europe, they accuse you of Holocaust denial. In America, they accuse you of anti-Semitism.
Yep.
Right? Correct. So it's geography dependent. Now, Viktor Ostrovsky, former member of the Mossad, he says that, the Mossad would use the B'nai B'rith to smear people in the media. People, if there was anybody in the media stepping out of line or
typically the ADL derived from B'nai B'rith, if you recall, right?
Correct.
Correct. And Leo Frank was a member of Benign Birth before they developed the
Right, yeah. In fact, it used to be called the ADL of the Benign Birth.
Dallas, too.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. But the point is that was the organization they would use to smear people as anti-Semites. And he says that's a stink you can't wash off. But he's like, if there's a journalist or somebody popping off or saying things that Israel doesn't like, they'll just get in touch with their B'nai B'rith contacts, and then the B'nai B'rith will conduct a whisper campaign and a public relations campaign and scare them as an anti-Semite.
This Rachel, the nicest woman in the world, who adopted a Palestinian child who's got his legs blown off, and she literally became the anti-Semite of the month like a couple months ago. So it's like, they'll come at anyone, basically, I guess, to answer John, and then like Sam said, Sam put it perfectly. Like I do with, I don't care about labels because I'm not running Congress, doesn't matter to me, but like there's one kid who I just unfollowed him. Well, I don't even care about blocking him. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't, because they just make no accounts. But I just like he'll probably 20 times a week he'll at me and fucking say all this shit, blah blah blah, all this fucking absolute nonsense. But I literally just ignore him. I don't know how they're still going. And then I let him speak in JQ when I was on last Saturday or Saturday before, because I'll let anyone speak, especially if they're calling me out. But Backup, I guess, has known him for a couple of years, and he's like, if I ever see him in that fucking space again, I'm leaving the guy right for this one, because he's some subversive trying to say for this and that. But yeah, just ignore it. That's the easiest way to do it. And like Sam said, unless you have to, then you can engage it. And I almost say even, hey, you know what? If you think I'm this and that, then let's have a space about it and talk it out instead of being weaselly about it and doing all this shit over comments and stuff. But yeah, just ignoring it's the best issue. They go away.
Well, I mean, in 2001, when 9/11 happened, I'm only 19 years old. Everybody is very naive at 19. Nobody understands the history prior to 9/11. So you're innocent. On 9/11, a lot of innocent Americans got wrapped up, but I don't have Israeli derangement syndrome. I've got George Bush and Cheney derangement syndrome. If we want to be self-reflective and personally responsible, I mean, it's Colin Powell and people in our government that let us down, that instead of doing a controlled response to 9/11, we are now $37 trillion in debt with a plandemic, scamdemic to top off 25 years of war. So I'm just saying, you can sit here and blame Jews and Israel all day long, but when it comes to our own government, we live in fucking clown world.
What I would say to that, though, and I was going to add one more tip to how to deal with a labeled Jew hater or whatnot, and that's that first of all, why is it they don't take issue with Jews blaming all Germans collectively, still collecting reparations from them? Why is it that Jews get to generalize for those they don't like, or those say the Italian mafia, they don't just say the mafia, blame all Italians to add that stereotype to their good name, but then they have a problem with others, Gentiles, calling out Jews for their criminal activity. Now, again, I have no problem condemning guys like George W. Bush and Dick Cheney, but I mean, look at who the people that were surrounding them was. They won't mention Paul Wolfowitz or Richard Pearl or Scooter Levy, 3 Jews that were responsible for the foreign policy plan that ensued following 9/11 that took place. And what preceded 9/11 was, of course, the clean break memo that was drafted by the State Department. And that was by, again, individuals like David Wurmser, again, Richard Pearl, and also Doug Fife, 3 Jews who had the plan to invade Iraq and also Syria. This was in 96. And then in 98, you had Bill Kristol and Richard Kagan, 2 Jews, in addition to Paul Wolfowitz.
That's Robert Kagan, by the way. Robert Kagan, the husband of Victoria Noodleman. Yeah, Noodleman.
Who devised, her real name's Noodleman. She changed it. And Kagan is short for Kaganovich. She shortened his name as well. Descendant of Lazar Kaganovich, the Bolshevik Jew. So you have all these Jews in charge of the State Department that devise these policies that end up becoming the foreign policy for America to get into wars against countries like Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Libya, and then later Yemen, and of course Afghanistan to begin with, and then later on Somalia, Pakistan. So they come up with these plans to destroy these countries, and then they create a PSYOP, a false flag, in 9/11 to be able to justify the war, just like they did with 10/7. So you have to see this strategy here with these Jews. And they do get caught a lot too, like with the Levant affair. What was their plan there? To want to bomb certain strategic sites in Egypt? Egyptian Jews carried it out, but they got caught. So it didn't happen. So no one's not condemning the treasonous government for lying to get into the Iraq war, but you also have to remember it was Benjamin Netanyahu who was pushing for that war, and what's his name? The Kleberg memo was actually directed at him. It was really a policy memo that was written for him when he took power in 1996 to do his first term in Israel. So he was the one, and it was Israel that came up with the faulty intelligence, claiming that Saddam Hussein had bought yellow cake in Niger. So they provided false evidence to push America into war, and also claimed there's weapons of mass destruction when they weren't there. So they.
And then what did Netanyahu say in 9/11? I don't know exactly the quote.
He made the prediction that the towers, and he wrote it in his book, that the towers would be destroyed. Just like the rabbi made the claim too. This is in and around 1995, 96, like 5 years before that. How did they know? Yeah,
I didn't even know that. I thought he said something like, now the Americans know how we feel, or something like that. Something along those lines. And then, the way I always say it recently, it's just from fucking one of my favorite movies, even though people hate it, but I'm playing for
why did Netanyahu say that 9/11 was good? Why did he say 9/11?
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
Why did he say that?
May I interrupt?
Yeah.
I remember on 9/11, Netanyahu said that day, now Americans see what we go through every day. That's it.
Thank you, William. Yeah, exactly. Bingo. So yeah, I mean, it is like someone, I think it was Me Truth a couple weekends ago. Yeah, it was some girl from remember that lady from Iran? I forget her name. Some random name coming up being like, you guys just I forget what she was saying that you guys don't blame your government this and that, and you guys just try to. I don't even think she was saying scapegoat. I forget what it was, but it's like, no, yeah, our government's 100% responsible as well. Like Johnson, Dick Cheney, obviously. Colin Armstrong.
What about when they do stand up to world jury, like JFK does, and they get killed? McKinley was 100 days into his presidency in 1900, and he got killed because he was investigating Northern Securities that was owned by J.P. Morgan's dad initially, and the Rothschilds, because they knew about the corruption and money laundering they were up to. They were going to shut them down, so they killed them. Yeah. Theodore Roosevelt takes power without an election, similar to like LBJ took power after JFK. Exactly. They controlled the outcome for the next 4 elections all the way in to World War I. You know, they were the ones that Theodore Roosevelt would then take power again, then you had William Howard Taft, and then you had Woodrow Wilson. They controlled all the elections. Even before 1913, they were still meddling in American politics.
Just like they did now with controlling everything right up until 9/11 and the Cold War and terror. Here we are, where they they made everyone hate neocons, rightfully so, and people like old white men, and they run McCain against Hillary in 2008, so then Obama against Obama. Then Obama wins, obviously gets in there and just does their bidding, and then they.
No, so the point I'm making here, if you're gonna blame the likes of George W. and Dick Cheney, and sure, rightfully so, they made money out. You know, Halliburton made a lot of money from Iraq War. No question about it. Then you also have to give credit to those American presidents who stood up to global jury and paid the price. Richard Nixon paid the price too.
Yeah,
George H.W. Bush, they were going to assassinate him. That's what I heard. His presidency because he suspended $10 billion of aid to Israel. So whenever American presidents, white American presidents, stand up to global jury, they pay the price, whether it's loss of election or some bullshit scandal, like even Clinton and the Lewinsky affair, because he wouldn't release Jonathan Pollard, so they publicized the tapes, the Lewinsky tapes, because they were spying on him.
And then all of a sudden it shows how much these Jews truly, quote unquote, care about us. As soon as you do one thing to go against them, boom, you're Nixon, you're Clinton, you're George Bush Sr., all these things, you're JFK, you're McKinley. And that's why I say, like, I joke about it, but don't joke about it. Like, don't leave the ticket out, go for it 2028. And I ain't voting for anyone. I am a political atheist. I am opting out of the system. But the only ticket I mean, Fuentes floated it on Alex Jones like a month ago when he was on. Dan Bilzerian running. I don't think it's true, but I hope. But the only one, like I said all the time, I'm kind of doing my best to will it into existence, but it's not going to happen. I hope it does. Is Dan Bilzerian, no sure, 2028. But then, like I said, in the same breath, if that was to somehow come to fruition, which I truly hope it does, really do, but I don't think it will. But if it did, I don't put it past these motherfuckers. That's why when people say, like, backup and stuff, I agree with them. Maddie as well, like Maddie Black from the Bird Pit podcast. There really is no political solution. They have this shit on a stranglehold, and if someone rises up that is legitimate enough, they will, in 2 seconds, do what they have to do, because they're not going to give up power. But yeah, it's a good point. And it just, again, like I say all the time too, we bono. That's what I go to. We bono. Israel, boom. Got the Greater Israel Project, got America to go to the Middle East, a bunch of fucking going just dying for Middle Eastern wars for no reason. And again, 22 to 27 veterans committing suicide every day because they're went overseas when they're 19 years old. Their frontal cortex hasn't developed. They said, why am I killing these Muslims for no reason? I have nothing against them. They come back and realize, oh shit, it was all for Israel. Or they double down like some frauds like Tim Kennedy in my books and say that it's a great hero that saved the world. But yeah, it is Jews. At the end of the day, it is what it is.
Yeah, John, one other tips is if you want to have a long career in politics, aim for the younger demographic because they're going to be your voter throughout your career. And a lot of them are anti-Israel and they understand the Jewish problem much better so than their parents and their grandparents. So keep that in mind.
But do they understand the clown world problem?
Sorry?
Do they understand the clown world problem? The Rashida Tlaibs, the Ilhan Omars. I mean, is this country not inundated with clowns?
Yeah, see, that's where I knew I didn't.
Let me put in my 2 cents real quick before my phone dies.
Well, I knew I didn't
Before my phone dies, because I've been trying to get up here for a while and it wouldn't let me. John, yeah, you gotta understand, John, because I heard you a little bit ago. Oh, by the way, hi everyone. Truth, Keith, Joanne.
Hi.
So yeah, hey, I'm walking around the neighborhood over here, so you might hear some birds talking to me. They'd be tweeting to me. So anyway, yeah, John, I'm listening to what you're saying, right? You gotta fucking remember that they fund both sides of the fucking coin. Both sides, and I'm walking like speed walking, getting my 10,000 in. They fund both sides of the fucking war. Both sides of every operation, by the way. In 2017, when I went back to my hometown, Tampa, Florida, for a trip, my Arabic Lebanese friend took me out for a nice Mediterranean meal at a restaurant in Tampa called Biblos. So we went there, we had a good time, then we got in our car, and as we were driving away, we stopped at the stop sign, and we got a little bumper from behind us, So everyone stopped, he stopped, we all opened the car, and, I looked at behind the bumper, and I told my friend Lisa, I said, all right, no big deal, you didn't scratch me, let's go. No, I want to call the cops. No, it's really not a big deal. He said, you can just get it fixed for not even $10, let's just go. It's too much to sit here waiting for police for an hour. No, okay, fine. So then we walked to the car, we asked the guy, I said, do you have insurance before we call the cops? I didn't want to get into this shit. Like, I don't give a fuck. I don't care about police. Like, don't call them. But she was so adamant. So he handed his ID. He was a Palestinian, an arms dealer from Big Deal Air Force Base in Tampa. And he had a Florida driver's license and said safe driver. How in the fuck does a Palestinian get, and they're being wiped out right now, completely wiped out right now. How in the fuck does a supposed Hamas leader, right, we wiped out Gaza because they're all Hamas, get a driver's license that says safe driver, and on the license it says arms dealer from Palestine. And he works with MacDill Air Force Base. How does that happen, John? Like how?
Well, Laura Loomer has exposed how the State Department, some fucking asshole employees, have been allowing these women, pregnant Palestinian women, to come here and have their anchor babies.
I'm talking about.
I knew.
Is that on the hiding thing? They do. I've said it for a while. They put these people like Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar. I'm not sticking up for them at all. I'm not defending them. I'm not on their side at all. But they put them in places so then people, to be honest, like yourself, John, can say, "Oh, look, what do we do about these dumbasses?" Which they are dumbasses. When we have on Twitter AIPAC openly bragging about owning 98% of our Congress and saying it pays off to be pro-Israel and all this shit. And Trump praying at Rebbe Schneerson's grave on October 7th before he's elected and all this stuff. So that's just like the Dearborn, Michigan thing. Yeah, I don't want to.
John said that he would take AIPAC money like at the beginning when he just came out. Like, John, would you take AIPAC money?
Listen, we have $600 in my campaign account. If AIPAC wanted to send me $50,000 to attack a guy that they've already sent $50,000 to, if they're that stupid to give me the money, I'll take their stupid money.
So, John, you can't see America first, right? Just be careful. You can't see America first. So, so this was in 2017, and we're in 2025. Imagine if they let Hamas run around America, right? Arms dealing with a license to do so, and then they get on the fucking Fox News 13 bullshit channel and say they're the enemy.
I don't understand. His driver's license.
Operation.
His driver's license said he was an arms dealer. What are you talking about?
Yes, his driver's license. Because at McDill, if you work at the Air Force Base in Tampa, Florida, I don't know where you're from, but in Tampa, Florida, when you come in and out of the Air Force Base, you have to have a legit required license to do so. And he had a McDill Air Force Base license that said arms dealer. Like, I couldn't believe my eyes. I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, whoa. And I went back to Lisa. I'm like, just don't call the cops. Don't call it. She called them. He came. The cops came. He said, why did you call me for something stupid as a bumper? And he left. That was that. But I'm so glad that it happened that night because I got to see that license. That license. Now, after they took down Syria, the first thing they did is burn down the Passport Immigration Center. So you don't know who's daddy. And they issued IDs from Turkey. In Florida, the Puerto Ricans used to issue IDs to the Cubans. It's very deep. They fund both sides of the fucking story. About every operation. And don't forget, George W. Bush took a piece of paper, ripped it, and said, this is what the Constitution is. It's just a damn piece of paper. So I'm with Richard or John Deason. Whenever he says, it's way beyond that. Way beyond learning. Way beyond any of that shit. It's time to fucking rock and roll, man. And I'll speak up. I don't give a fuck. I put in the purple pill last night. I was talking to some friends and family in Gaza that I support, and he showed me like 4 pieces of pineapple. They haven't had pineapple in 7 fucking months. And it's down there in the purple pill. These motherfuckers haven't had pineapple in 7 months or beans. But the USA government, McDill Air Force Base, is letting supposed enemies run around with a licensed arms dealing license. Fucking make it make sense. Yeah, I'm pissed. But when I walk, things in my mind just get. Yeah, you think more like when you're walking and talking, and I'll mute my. I don't mute now.
So what do you think was at George Bush Sr.'s funeral when they passed around those notes? You know, I've always wondered, what do you think the secret message was that George Bush Sr. wanted people to know at his funeral?
I don't know. That seems like a QAnon psyop to me, to be honest. Because for a little while, I was never a QAnon person, but for a little while, it was like, okay, all right, that is pretty interesting. But I think that was like in my opinion, now that I look back on a QAnon thing to make everybody think like, oh shit, here they go, it's coming, Trump's gonna come in, they're gonna lock everybody up again, and we're gonna MAGA, blah blah blah, and Hillary's gonna be in Guantanamo, look at their faces, and I mean, at the end of the day, some of them are like Pam Bondi's literally on IMDb. She's a literal actress on IMDb, and a lot of them are actors or actresses. I mean, Anna Paulina Luna, whatever her real name is, former stripper, all that. I think that was one of the ones, though, that I will say, though, that was pretty convincing at first, because it was like, what the fuck, but nothing's come of it, so I think it was just another psyop to get people believing and buying into the 5D QAnon. Trump's going to come in and arrest everybody. He's got them all scared and did this whole thing over the last couple of years, whether it's fucking with, what's her name, E. Jean Carroll, the wacko lady that said Trump raped or whatever. Yeah, it seems like he's pretty bad in doing that, but I doubt it was her. But they did that on purpose with her because she was a fucking whack job crazy lady they put out there. So everyone, even the people on the left, were like, shit, maybe even Trump is being persecuted. And then they did all these Jack Smith ones, and I fully believe this now. Some people disagree, but I fully believe it. 1, 2, 3 cases, he gets Mar-a-Lago raided, all this stuff. He's going to go to jail. He's going to go to Danny Willis, got to go to Atlanta, Georgia, Fulton County. He's going to go to Rikers Island with Letitia James for all these cases that are brought up. And, oh, he's this big bad guy, and they're coming to get him. And then Flynn's on his side, and Roger Stone, the 3 Avengers, are fighting the deep state, and they're fighting all these guys, all this, while Roger Stone literally in 2015 or 2016 looked up whatever he looked up 2 weeks before. I think Russiagate came out. He's on Google typing stuff in. He's obviously linked up with Jews and Netanyahu and many other things, and goes back to Nixon, obviously, and with that whole QAnon psyop shit, Flynn's Unit 8200, among other things. But all of a sudden, just magically, just right before Trump gets the election rolls around, right before, just poof, Letitia James drops the case, Fannie Willis gone, Jack Smith, all these DOJ things, boom, poof, 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 and then the fake assassination, which I didn't think was fake, really, for the most part. I thought it was sketchy until that video that just came out recently where guys ushering the cameraman right in front of the fucking thing and pointing cameras at Trump as the flag dips down the back. It was just all along, and they did a good job. Just like it's a pandemic, they hit us hard. They did a great job building up Trump and saying, hey, he's this hero. He's fighting everybody. Look at all these people hate him and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden he gets elected and he's sitting there with Obama and they're laughing, having a good old time. So that's without a doubt what that was for a while. The thing with, like you're talking about, again, that seems like, I think that's what it was. That was the one that seemed most believable to me, but nothing's happened from it. So it's just more, they're all on the same side. Obviously, at the end of the day, all these quote-unquote elites are on the same side, and they just play us off each other.
So you don't think Michael Crooks actually got a shot off on Trump's ear? You think that whole thing was staged?
I don't know if Crooks did or not, to be honest, exactly. I don't know that much, but I'll throw the thing and I'll DM it to you just in case you can't see in the nest. Sometimes people can't. I'll throw it in the front of the nest because it's...
I've seen the video of the camera people, you know, getting in the front, but that to me seems like that's what camera people would do. That's what I would do if I had my cell phone. I'd want to film it, you know?
Well, yeah, with the cell phones, I mean, I threw it in the front of the nest if anyone hasn't seen it. If you have a cell phone, I get it, yeah, but the fact that these people are literally ushered right in front of him by Trump's little, whatever, not Secret Service, whatever the fuck, manager guys or whatever they are, that they're ushered right in front of him, and like I've talked about before, I mean, obviously the flag dropping back perfectly in the background as he's on the ground. I didn't think it was, I was down the middle because... You know, this guy, Corey Competier, died, unfortunately, and rest in peace. But the whole thing
was scar on his ear, if that was real, if a bullet supposedly...
Yes, exactly. And now there's no scar, and, like, then when you look at this video more and more, like, they were on the ground for so long. I mean, he was that, like, I don't want to say a pro wrestler, but he was a wrestler and stuff. And like I've said before, it's in the comments, the thing that really sticks out to me the most besides the flag is... Because I agree with you. Anyone with a camera phone in the audience, yeah, they're going to do that. But these people that are ushered by this little fucking minion guy in the front, the Secret Service agent stares directly at them with an AR-15. And if anyone knows anything about law enforcement, because people are trying to say, oh, those guys were already cleared, the cameramen, it does not fucking matter. If there is bullets actively flying around the president, and you are going to go directly in front of the president and point a camera literally 3 feet away from his face that could be in today's day and age with technology, that could have a bullet inside of it and shoot him right in the head. And the Secret Service agent staring right the fuck at him as they take that picture. Then they get ushered off to the side when he's coming up the steps, and they take another picture. It's just not going to happen. I mean, I know law enforcement. I've asked them about it. Then I already know myself. They would, that Secret Service agent in front that stares right at them would say, get the fuck on the ground right now before I shoot you in the fucking face, because you're not going to point something at the president. I don't know who the hell you are. There's bullets flying left and right. The threat hasn't been neutralized yet because the snipers didn't take him out yet. So with the Crooks thing, I don't know. It was weird. I mean, he obviously, I don't know if he got shots off, it was someone else, whatever it was, but then they obviously had no silverware. His whole apartment was clean. They cremated his body like Bin Laden. But it was another thing, and then these Jews, I've seen Jewish people talk about the ritual where if you get your right ear nicked or whatever, which I don't even think it did, but whatever the symbolism of it means they're our guy and stuff. And it's crazy to think, and then, you know, I mean, unfortunately, Corey Competier died. If he did, I don't want to go that far down the rabbi hole and say he didn't. But then there's more of the gematria shit, which I don't even like, but the Jews do follow it, and Trump gets up and he yells, fight, 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 right? 3 things in a row, fight, fight, fight. There's your 666, and Corey Competier there's 333 right there, the firefighter who died. And then they misspelled his name at the RNC, which was weird. But after seeing that, the flag dip, the cameramen, and then, like I said, all the other things. And then you know what it was, too? Honestly, to add on to that, everyone jumped on board then. Elon, Mark Andreessen, the PayPal Mafia, David Sachs, all these people jumped on board and said, well, I got to support Trump now. I got to support him. Everybody's got to support him. So it's like they all knew. They were waiting for it. CNN was there for like the first time. It was the first rally they covered in forever. The whole Crooks thing makes no sense, too, because the motherfucker's walking around the roof for like 30 minutes. There's hammered people like in the audience like, hey, that guy's got a fucking AR up there. What's going on? Hey, cops, you want to do anything about this? Literally fucking like hammered like in the video. They're like, bro, that guy got a gun? Holy shit, he's got a gun. Hey, Secret Service agent. Like, what? What's going on? The window behind him was supposed to have security. So I don't know who took the shot, but it was another way to build up Trump to make him be this god-like figure in QAnon and MAGA's eyes, which he has become in certain ways. and luckily people are seeing through it now. But it's just because I don't like to go down the rabbit hole of everything's fake and rigged. But a lot
Well,
of
don't
things
forget,
are.
Zuckerberg went on Joe Rogan immediately after and said that was the most badass thing I've ever seen. And that was after he had his falling out. And then he had an apology tour with Trump. So, Zuckerberg platformed Fauci for countless months, for years, encouraging everybody to get the COVID-19 vaccine through Meta. So there's, Al Capone was brought down by the IRS. And I think a lot of these billionaires who do nonprofit charities to essentially avoid paying any income tax, they should be brought down in the same way that Al Capone was brought down.
I agree. I've maintained this for a while. I agree because I've said for a while because people did that. People fell for that fucking psyop. They're like, oh, Zuckerberg's taking testosterone and he's based now because he got a haircut. I've said the exact same thing as you. The exact same thing. I said, I don't give a fuck what he's done. He banned myself off of Facebook. He banned millions of people off of Facebook. My grandparents died from the quote-unquote vaccine. My mom took 2. I hope she's going to be fine. My dad took 5. Like I say all the time, my friends one of them has tinnitus. One of them has AFib, wears a fucking pacemaker. I have another friend who's a nurse who has 2 miscarriages. And people bought that psyop. I hate it. Mark Zuckerberg has so much fucking blood in his hands, it's not even fucking funny. And Rogan and them revitalized his image and said, oh, he's based now. He's a good guy. He's riding on jet skis with an American flag. He's so cool. He's our guy. And it's like, no, he literally is just as much responsible as people like Rachel Walensky, not as much as Fauci. He's a monster. But I agree on that part because I hate how people fell for that. He literally censored everything while the vaccine was coming out, killing everybody. You couldn't even say the word vaccine. And because of that, my fucking grandparents are dead. 700,000 Americans, like me and Truth talk about all the time, 20 to 25 million worldwide, because of people like him. So yeah, fuck him.
Well, he can do his little sailboard around Hawaii all he wants, build his doomsday bunker. But, I take some reprieve in knowing he's married to one ugly, stupid bitch. And him and his ugly, stupid bitch wife, Priscilla Chen, they built an anti-inflammation, $150 billion nonprofit in Chicago because they got a guilt complex for the fucking poison that they mass spammed across the country on their spam ad network, known as Meta Fake Book.
Don't worry, John. Every Satan minions have their day. Don't worry. You can't even fish in Hawaii because they're still finding contaminants from the Fukushima. And one day, maybe a tsunami will come and take his shit away. See, all about the material things. These people are all about material. They think they're going to get away with it, and they won't.
Nobody escapes this. Everybody goes through the same gate at the very last day. And I just know that, when he goes through there, he's going to have to hang his head in shame because he's a little bitch.
Yep. Sam, I DM'd you earlier. I don't know if you got it. I just wanted to make sure, see if you did, because I don't know how it works when people don't follow each other. But get back to me whenever you get a chance. Truth, do you want to say something? I don't see anything. Let me swing.
Yeah, Prashad's been waiting a while. So we love
yeah.
Yeah, thanks. I wrote down a couple of notes. That Massey and Diligent thing, that's concerning to me. I'm going to have to listen to that because I'm personally not too fond of Diligent and his ongoing support of Trump's crimes, even though it seems like some of them he doesn't like right now. So I'm going to have to listen to that and try to make sense of it because it doesn't feel good to me that Massey went with Diligent, but that's a small point. The other point, a couple of points I wanted to make was anti-Semite. I got a real easy answer for the anti-Semite, and some of you may or may not like this, but my best friend for many years, and he's here in Hawaii with me now, he's a Jewish lawyer. He was the former deputy district attorney from Los Angeles for many years, and I text with him most days and talk with him on the phone most days, and he's my best friend, literally in Hawaii, and he's a surf buddy, although he's too fat to surf now. But so when people tell me I'm an anti-Semite, I say, well, tell that to my best friend here, Jewish lawyer, and former deputy DA of Los Angeles. So I guess that doesn't fit too well, does it? And then the third point I wanted to make was vaccines. And I know this beyond a shadow of a doubt because I traveled around the country with RFK's gang and Big Tree and Holly Tommy and Brian Hooker for 3 or 4 years to the CDC and to Washington, D.C. and to Sacramento and to Los Angeles. And so it's not 72 vaccines, it's 72 doses of a much smaller number of vaccines. And if you say 72 vaccines, they'll slam you because it's just not accurate. it's 72 doses of a smaller, of a quite a lot smaller number of vaccines. It may be,
How many doses were there in the 1970s?
Yeah, well, I was going to get to that point. And it wasn't in the 1970s, there were almost no doses. But the key year is 1986, because that's when, who was it? Reagan signed the act to take all liability away from the vaccine makers. So the big change year was 1986. That's when it went from almost none to a massive amount of doses. So make sure that when you talk about that you say it's doses and not vaccines, because it may be only 12 or 16 vaccines, but it's 72 doses. And the other point I wanted to make about the vaccines is the World Health Organization a few years ago, they did a meeting on vaccine hesitancy, and there were members from all over the world at that meeting. And the host of the meeting, there were two hosts, a guy and a woman, and the woman does most of the speaking. And this is absolutely what this woman said in that meeting. You can probably find a video of that meeting by going to the WHO and looking for it. A meeting on vaccine hesitancy. And what the woman said, she said it. The woman who talked most in this meeting, more than anybody else, kind of the MC of the meeting, she said to the whole group from all over the world, the World Health Organization, she said, we've put ourselves in a very dangerous place. That's the first thing she said. And then she said, we put ourselves in a very dangerous place because we have substituted natural immunity for vaccine immunity. Now translate that. If you can't translate that for yourself, I'll translate it. But what she admitted is that natural immunity is much better than vaccines. And we've put ourselves, as she said, in a very dangerous place because we've substituted vaccines for natural immunity. She said it, I didn't say it, and she said it to people from all over the world. So she admitted that natural immunity was better and that we're in a dangerous place because we've substituted for vaccines. Another thing she said in that meeting, beyond a shadow of a doubt, none of the vaccines in the current schedule, none of them have been properly tested. She said it in that meeting. You can all listen to it. If you really want it, I'll search that meeting out and let you listen to it. I know where you can find a shorter version. It's on the Highwire until victory. I think it's episode 143 or 142. That's where you'll hear her say the things that I just told you. She said it. She said essentially that we put ourselves in a dangerous place because we substituted inferior vaccine immunity for superior natural immunity and the immune system. That's what she said. And she also said, to repeat myself boringly, that they've never been tested. None of the vaccines on the schedule has ever been properly tested. She said both of those things in that meeting. World Health Organization.
Dr. Stanley Plotkin already stated this, right?
Yeah, I know he said that also. As I said, I know he said that also. No, I know he said that because like I said, I traveled the country on this meeting and I listened to Stanley Plotkin say it on the same. It was on the same show, the Highwire show. So I know all that. So I don't want to go on forever, but George H.W. Bush, one of my least favorite stories about that demon, makes me hard to believe he was speaking against the Jews, because in the first Iraq war he was president, right? And there were 60,000 Iraqi troops that surrendered, gave up, threw down their weapons, and surrendered, and were marching back to Iraq. And I think, wasn't that around the Kuwait, was that first war around the Kuwait issue? Is that correct? Does anybody remember?
I believe so. The first one, yeah, I believe so. Yeah, Kuwait was plant drilling and everything.
Yeah, and there was a lie about that too, because the United States gave Kuwait permission to drill underground into Iraqi territory, and then the United States gave the permission to attack Iraq. So they were kind of playing both. The United States government was playing both sides of that game. They gave Kuwait permission to steal Iraq's oil, and then they blamed Iraq when Iraq attacked Kuwait. They were playing both sides of that. But to get back to the thing about Bush, after the Iraqi soldiers, 60,000 of them is the number that I read, surrendered threw down their weapons and were marching back to Iraq, George W. Bush ordered a whole bunch of American fighter jets to literally mow them down. Mow down 60,000 unarmed Iraqi soldiers. That's what George W. Bush did. So I had one more point, but I've already said two.
Yeah, I've heard of that. I think they called the highway or to something, I forget, where they fucking wiped out all those Iraqis.
That was George W. Bush, and he wiped out unarmed Iraqis.
I forget what they called it. They wiped out fucking column after column while they're unarmed.
It's the highway.
Yeah, they played both sides off each other.
Highway of death?
Kuwait, you guys can drill into Iraq, slant drilling it's called, and then they did it because John Kiriakou, the ex-CIA agent that I talk about a lot, has talked about it, and then they basically, I think they gave Saddam the green light, whatever, and then he went in and then they used it against him, obviously, and then there we go. And then speaking on that, which is wild, I've talked about before, because John Kiriakou has talked about it, it's like propaganda is so overlooked, rightfully so, but like it's used in so many ways because there's videos, and I've seen it since John Kiriakou talked about it like a year ago on one of these podcasts he was on. Like when they liberated Kuwait or whatever, we liberated Kuwait, there was like when Americans were going down the streets, American soldiers or whatever, like all these Kuwaitis were just waving American flags. Everyone's waving American flag, cheering on the soldiers and everything, and I mean they were probably happy to be quote unquote liberated, whatever. I don't know the situation too well. But when you stop and think about it, like, you know, at first glance, people don't stop thinking about it, rightfully so. They just see it like, oh, wow, they're happy. But it's like, wait, how would all these motherfucking Kuwaitis, like hundreds of thousands of them, just get little tiny American flags to wave around, like, you know, to make the Americans think that, hey, we're doing a good job, we're liberating people, so we want to keep going to the Middle East, and, you know, hey, don't go against the war, this is great, look at the Kuwaitis are happy. And then, like John Kiriakou said, he knew the guy, or some guy, he asked some guy, he said, hey, how did they get all those? The guy said, what do you mean, from me? He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, I'm the minister of propaganda or whatever it is. He's like, oh, I forgot, that's your title. He's like, what do you mean exactly though? He's like, I was the one. We bought like 250,000 tiny American flags. We handed them out to everybody. We said, stand on the side of the street and wave our American soldiers by and act like you're happy about everything that's going on. It just goes to the point of just how much our government just little things like that. It always stuck with me. It's like, wow, that's so crazy to think about, because the average person will not think about it, rightfully so. They'll just see it and be like, oh, well, I guess they're happy we're there. And like I said, they might have been, they might have not been, but that whole thing was sides off each other, got a balkanization. It really is. Syria, Libya, Lebanon, they're trying to do it too. Iraq, obviously, and they've done it slowly but surely. Our Greater Israel project's a couple months away, possibly. I don't know what's going on. We'll see. But yeah, it is wild. But yeah, Dick, you're right. I forget what it's called, but Bush and Cheney authorized them to just wipe out like 60,000 Iraqi soldiers that had no means to defend themselves. It was kind of like the highway of hell. They just forcibly killed a lot of them.
And unless we forget, don't forget the daughter of the ambassador or something in Kuwait telling us all about the incubator babies and the Iraqi soldiers throwing them out on the floor. It was a complete lie.
Another one, yeah. It's always babies. They always use babies. The babies in ovens and babies in incubators. And then I forget what it is, something else. It's always babies. Always. It's
babies.
What'd you say, Joanne? Sorry.
The 40-beheaded babies.
Yeah, exactly. 40-beheaded babies in ovens. Even the Beavis twins a couple months ago, when they said, oh, Hamas strangled these Beavis twins, the babies or whatever, and they killed them, blah, 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 big bad Hamas. And it's like, well, number one, that doesn't logic, because why would they strangle babies? Like, if they were going to kill them, they'd just fucking shoot them, unfortunately. But they didn't. Their family came out like a couple days later and like, no, that's a lie. To smithereens like a couple weeks after they got taken hostage. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? But of course, then they got shut up, just like the 4 IDF tank brigade women soldiers that got released, and one of them was like staring at the Hamas guys, and then they come back and they're fatter than when they went in somehow. And then they're like, yeah, they were awesome to us. They're actually like really friendly. And then within like a week, they completely changed their story. Like, oh, actually, they're the devils. We need to go back in there. And never mind, nobody knows that Hamas offered, obviously, 9th and 10th to return the hostages, because they're trying to just do a hostage swap, and they've offered probably 15 plus times since then to return the hostages. Netanyahu says no every time. Bezalel Smotrich snuck it in like 2 months ago, like quietly. Not many people picked up on it, and I've talked about it a few times. He said like, I think it was right before the Iran war. It was right when it was happening. He's like, well, our focus is now shifted to the Iran war, and we no longer care about the hostages. They're not our, they're not in our attention anymore, or whatever. Basically admitting what we all know the whole time, because if they got the hostages back, then they can keep genociding the Palestinians, because everyone's like, well, what the hell? Even like Sam talked about before, you know, a lot of the stuff with these anti-Zionist protests, the quote-unquote good Jews in Israel that are protesting against the genocide, it's like, well, you know, you're sitting in Tel Aviv, you know, some of them probably are good Jews here, but you're sitting in Tel Aviv, why don't you go down to the border and actually try to stop these Jewish or just whatever, these fanatical Jews that just don't take all the hate off the ground or break it up, and so they can't bring it into Gaza and give it to the starving people that are there. But anyway, I digress. It's just extremely frustrating, and Trump's just gonna, well, it'll happen because he doesn't give a fuck. As he said before, just hurry it up, get it over with.
Have you guys noticed that all of the Zionist propagandists, they only post the hostages as being like women in their like 20s that are like decently good looking, nose jobs? Like, it's like every single quote unquote hostage is just like a 20-year-old fucking female that's like good looking, or it's a baby. It's never like some Jew with just a nozzle nose, you know? Like, what? They think that's so stupid.
Yeah, they're banking on your stupidity, and they're banking on your memory loss. First motive of any operation is when they execute it, they always make sure that you have some sort of memory loss via some kind of like a programming that they,
propaganda.
Yeah, propaganda, all of that. So yeah, they literally do think you're stupid. 100%. That's what the movie Idiocracy is all about. And Hollywood is one big psyops. You guys never realize every time we're on some sort of space, everyone always brings up a movie that they've seen that kind of relates to what's happening now. Well, remember this movie? Remember that? It's all because it's spelling. It's a big witchcraft spell on everyone.
Yeah, see, Candace did a good job explaining that. I think she was on with Charlemagne the Fraud. I don't know if you ever called
I didn't hear her.
It was like a year and a half ago she did it or something. I've seen it's like
I'll
send it to you. I'll find it on
send it to me after she interviewed Harry Weinstein. She didn't give
obviously
challenging questions. I lost respect for her.
I lost a lot of respect for her.
So I don't even look at
She
what
did a good job exposing what you were talking about, how the Pentagon's behind every city. They're behind Transformers, man. They bankrolled that, but they're behind all of them. And then when you think about it, it makes sense. Obviously, they're behind Black Hawk Down, behind Lone Survivor. They admitted that was fake. What's his name? Marcus Control admitted. Yeah, they just came to me when I was in the hospital and said, "Here you go. We made a whole fucking Hollywood movie on you that Mark Wahlberg starred in. Just sign your name." I said, all right, sounds good.
Yeah, they made a Hollywood movie on 911, but nobody caught it. The Last Kiss Goodnight with Samuel L. Jackson and Gina Davis. They were instructed to shoot buildings, and they shot one building in time for it in New York. Oh, we'll just blame it on the Muslims. It's right in that movie. Last Kiss Goodnight, Samuel L. Jackson and Gina Davis. So I don't know what Candace said, but I've been in the know for that way before Candace came on the scene. So yeah, in all of the movies, and Idiocracy is a very good one too. And Idiocracy shows you how they poison your water, they poison your food, and how
so
you
many
get memory loss from that. Yeah. So,
I mean, there were the ones that
and one really good one, and I'll land. I swear to God, I'll land.
No, you're right.
Rat race. Nobody caught this one. Not even Kitover, and a whole bunch of also Jews in rat race. And there's Yugoslavians and all kinds of rich billionaires sitting on the penthouse in the casino. Tell these people that there's a bag of money in the locker, go get it. And I think Hitler was even in that. Did like a cameo in that movie. It's called Rat Race. It shows you how they get you all distracted to follow that materialism and to follow that money bag, while they take everything from you from there. And when they show the people in the penthouse, like the sort of like the leaders that we have now, they show how they think you're stupid and how they're laughing at your ass. It's very dehumanizing in every sort of way a human being can ever feel. I mean, they can't really feel the way Gazans feel, but yeah, it's dehumanization, critical thinking on your memory loss.
Yeah,
I got a jet race gotta interject real quick because I got a jet. So thanks for having me. Good to hear Heidi there at the end, and I'll see you Saturday, Keith.
Sounds good, brother. Glad you saw it.
I'll talk to you guys later.
Yeah,
Thanks, Sam. Thanks for coming on. Have a good night.
Yeah, it's karmic retribution. It's all stuff that they, revelation or method, whatever people want to call it, tell you what they do. And Ryan Sikorsky is looking into this more so. It is both things I believe where it's because they're a Satanist and they want to get their karma up off them because if they tell you what they're going to do and then you go along and do it, then they're like, well, the thing I've always used before, if you're selling apples and then Heidi comes along and buy an apple and it's a poison apple and I sell it to her and poison her, then I poisoned her. But if I write poison apples and she buys one and poisons herself, it's like, well, you knew what it was beforehand. But they also do it to get people's consent because it's in the back of their mind, all these things, just like weird things like fucking Neo's and the Matrix passport expires on 9/11 somehow, and then Contagion and all these things where, whatever, I Am Legend, all these movies about viruses and this and that, and all of a sudden, boom,
Keith, you just reminded me of one thing that I have to tell you when you were talking about passports. Keith, do you know, just for a regular, normal citizen, not of Jewish descent, how long does it take to get a U.S. passport delivered to you when you first apply for it?
I do not know actually because I've never one, but I'm gonna need to buy one soon because I'm going
about 3 to 4 weeks, so about a month.
Okay, that'd be good. I need to.
But if you're a Jewish descent, guess how long it takes you to get a passport?
271,000 seconds.
Close, but 3 days, like opposed to 3 weeks. So you see how they're trying to even make it difficult for Americans to leave.
Yeah, that's such a damn. I'm writing that down in my notes. Yeah, see, there you go. There it is, right there. Little simple things like that. I'm actually now I need to. I'm glad you said that because I'm going to Vegas. I think my dad and my friends and my buddy coaches for the Raiders and going in November 17th, I think. But because you need a real ID now, thank you Donald Trump and fucking Christy Dome, you need a real ID, which is related to Agenda 2030, so they can tie everything into you with their lovely Palantir credit score. I will not be getting that, even though my dad already got it. He's like, just fucking get it, dude. Fuck, not that big of a problem. Like, I'm not explaining it to you. You can use a passport instead.
Keith, 6 to 8 weeks, but you have to pay extra to expedite it, so 2 to 3 weeks. You see?
Oh,
so,
there you go. So you gotta pay.
Yeah, so it's even longer. I'm just giving you the if you pay extra, you can get it 2 to 3 weeks. If you don't, you gotta wait at least 2 months. But if you're of the Israeli descent, Jewish descent, in 3 days.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, so this Hollywood stuff, it's kind of crazy when you finally wake up and you realize that it's actually more of a government operation, or like even much studios are owned by Jewish interests because they funnel the money that's sent to Israel back into Hollywood, and they make movies to basically create a narrative. Like, for example, in the movie World War Z, one of the only nations that is still safe is Israel itself, like a city in Israel, because the Mossad intelligence was smart enough to build a wall when they saw that the world was falling apart. And that's just like one example. Like, even the movie like Saving Private Ryan, where like the Germans are vilified, especially that scene where the German soldier, it's just like all of these movies, if you're not able to like kind of see past the curtain, like the Wizard of Oz kind of thing, that it just basically controls you in every single kind of way if you're not seeing past the bigger picture. And it's all government controlled, and most normies just think, oh, it's a Hollywood movie, like, it's entertainment. Like, bro, what are you talking about? That's a conspiracy theory. Yeah. That is sure. Like, Columbia Pictures is owned by the CIA. All these other big studios, they're owned by we all know that the Jews control Hollywood, and they've been creating these narratives since the 1930s. And I mean, they've been in control prior to that when the Zionist Congress was created in the 1880s. So it's just like a lot of fucking, what's the word for it? Like, you gotta break.
You gotta break the programming and stuff. But you're right. I mean, because we all know who owns Hollywood and stuff, and you're dead on. I mean, that's why I threw it up in the front of the nest. I found it in Candace one, and she just was the one that opened my eyes to it when I first saw it. And again, they were behind Transformers, but then they're behind everything, behind Lone Survivor, behind Black Hawk Down, behind Saving Private Ryan, then obviously all the Spielberg, all these Jewish, whatever Spielberg is, the director, whatever he is, directors and stuff. They're all behind it because what do they need? They need to galvanize, and there was one that came out recently, whatever, I forget, something about another war in the Middle East and stuff. And then, I mean, there's a bunch of really good, and they're always usually the best movies. They're a bunch of damn, like Black Hawk Down's a fucking damn good movie, but they just glamorize it, obviously, and then make young Gentiles, unfortunately, because they're young and impressionable. And I don't blame them at all, including myself when I was younger, and like, hey, shit, I'll sign up for the military, you know, that's badass, that's patriotic, and they just get everybody, and you're dead on, though. So many people do that. Well, come on, bro, you can't go that deep down the rabbi hole, as I call it, the T silent, but, you know, come on, not everything's silent. It's like, no, it is, and it's funny you say that, because I was watching, I gotta finish it off later whenever I'm done off Spaces, Sam Tripoli was on Rogan recently, I started watching it. He is the best. I love Sam Tripoli. I need to actually listen to him more because he was cooking on so many things. He was even talking about like Zeppelin and blimps and stuff. I forget what it was, but then he was talking right out the gate. They talked about how all these planes have been crashing, how all these plane things have been going on, how that thing that happened a couple months ago, I think it was right before Biden left office, with that helicopter hitting that plane in D.C. and then crashing in the river, which is like a sacrifice or something, a Holocaust sacrifice or whatever. But all these planes are falling out of the sky left and right, Boeing whistleblowers left and right, whether they're dying or surviving, and talking about getting video, James O'Keefe inside Boeing, and they're like, yeah, we just basically put duct tape on the fucking thing and let it fly. And it's all, and Rogan like does a good job of playing ignorant, which is aggravating. I actually don't hate Rogan as much as I hate like people like Tucker, because I know Tucker has an agenda. I know he's going to push JD Vance on us. I know he's going to push China. I know he's basically Israel, pro-Israel and all this stuff. Rogan's just obviously a stoner, but he is funded by Thiel and other people. He knows what's going on because he kind of shut Sam down, but not much. But he's like, you really think they're like, you know, crashing planes and stuff on purpose? And Sam Tripoli's like, yeah, dude. Like Agenda 2030 in 15-minute cities and smart cities, they don't want anybody traveling. They definitely don't want people flying around the world. So all of a sudden now, left and right, these fucking planes are just falling out of the sky. And then Sam Tripoli is also dead on. I've said it a lot the last couple of months. They want to blame DEI. That's why they put in DEI, so then they can blame it, and then they can inflame both sides and have white people, especially MAGA people, be like, oh, these fucking dumb nicks and these dumb whatever, black people, blah, blah, blah. Whereas a lot of the time it's manufactured accidents, whatever, or what they do is they do a good job of setting the conditions for things. They take away a few people out of control towers, so there's not enough staff or whatever. Then planes are, you know, you got FedEx planes almost hitting commercial airliners. You got like in South Dakota recently there was a fucking like B-52 that almost hit another airliner. So they set the conditions, but it's 100% for Agenda 2030, keeping people out of the air and keeping people afraid to fly and all this stuff, so they don't move around as much, because they're eventually going to lock us down. Unfortunately, I hope not. But with Palantir and they're, again, you own nothing and be happy, and in their Agenda 2030, you're only allotted 1.5 flights per year, and then you have to pay carbon tax, all this shit. But he did a good job, Sam did, because they do want to blame DEI, because then people just say, oh, well, it's just DEI, that's what it is, and Trump's going to get rid of that, and everything will be better. It's like, no, they're doing this on purpose, so then people, again, don't want to book plane tickets, don't want to move around as much, or scared to do this and that, and then it works, and they want your fear levels high, like I've talked about a lot recently, which he hit on as well, which is what they capitalize on. But yeah, there's so much, and he's like, everything's a psyop. Like, I'm kind of there. I don't like to go full everything's a psyop, but a lot of shit is a motherfucking psyop. And once you really realize every Pentagon movie, or every war movie is sponsored by the Pentagon because they want to get people to go die for Israel, why wouldn't they? It makes sense. And then they get to, like you said, in the meantime, make money, demonize people like the quote-unquote Nazis and all this stuff, and then demonize Muslims and say, yeah, see, look, all these, every movie is about a Muslim. What's the other one? Yeah, American Sniper with on Chris Kyle and with Bradley Cooper. Another great movie, or just Muslims running around left and right. The awesome Americans go and kill everybody and all this stuff. But yeah, it's wild.
William,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's okay.
Oh, yeah, Keith, you brought up something that caught my interest about the Trump assassination. Now, I really haven't looked into it. I mean, with so many available waking hours and so many Q problems, you're gonna kind of pick and choose them. But you said about the cameraman pointing the camera right in his face with the Secret Service person. That sparked my interest on that, and it also made me think of something else I've never heard.
Did you see the video, William? You've seen it, right?
I didn't. After the show.
You don't even need to, let me give it to you. I'll throw it back.
Awesome.
Because you don't need to listen to it. It doesn't, you don't need the volume. It's only 50 seconds. And you'll see within the first 10 seconds. I just threw it in that second.
Thank you. No, thank you. I want to see that. And then, I'm sure this had been thought of or brought up. I've never heard in my whole life. JFK assassination. You know, we had, but I call this guy the prequel of the dancing Israeli, Abraham Port, whatever, the Jew who filmed it on the 8mm.
Zapruder, yeah.
Zapruder. Now, here it is. He never flinched. It's correct. Right? 3 words. There you go. Right place, right time, flying kite. Pull off that. He never flinched. Right there, dancing Israelis. I'm surprised that was never brought up. I caught that off something you just said about the cameraman. The Secret Service guy would have flipped. And then, for some reason, I'm just thinking JFK gets shot. And we know, even if it was on a fucking tripod, it was moving with his hand, so the kite cannot say, I was on a tripod with this. No, he never flinched. I mean, there it is, dancing Israelis in 1963. Anyway, that's my thought.
No, see, that's why I love these conversations, because little things like that connect. That's a good point. You know, like you said, again, so my point, your point is, bullets are flying. I don't know how Zapruder is going to sit there and just be perfectly still and not be like, oh shit, like you said, just flinch just a little bit. That's all you need. Because he's not farther away. But that's a good point.
And also, Zapruder had like a state-of-the-art video camera for the time.
Watch it, and you don't even need the volume, but watch it and get back to me in like 50 seconds. It's wild. Then you see, like I said, the fucking, the flag perfectly dipped in the background, right in position. They put the American flag right behind Trump where the people are taking the picture, and that's on like a, whatever, it's on a crane, which that doesn't, you can't just lower that right away. You have to time that and everything. And then the guy, you'll see, it's in your DMs, it's up there. The guy ushers, some random guy ushers them right in front to take pictures. And again, nobody covered his rallies for like 18 months. Some little minion of Trump's ushers this guy. This guy would be fucking on the ground ducking if he wasn't in on it. The guy that ushers the cameraman right in front of him. And then he ushers him to the side of the stairwell where Trump's falling, where he's coming up the stairs. And they're taking pictures like at that point, like a foot away from his fucking face. And like I said, anyone that knows law enforcement, I've asked law enforcement that I know, I've watched, all I do in my spare time is watch law enforcement videos. They do not fuck around it. If you're just an average cop on the street who's pulling someone over, never mind you're a Secret Service agent who you can see my comment below the thing in the front of the desk. I took the screenshot, he's staring right at the people with the cameras. If that is real, and that Secret Service agent isn't in it, and it's not fake, which I do 100% believe it is now, that guy, like I said, is going to say, I will shoot you in the fucking face if you do not get on the ground right fucking now. I will shoot you in the face. You can point the guns right at them. You literally would say those exact words. You would possibly shoot them. Because a camera can easily have a bullet inside of it that could launch right into Trump's face. And MAGA people are coping saying, oh, those cameramen were already cleared by Secret Service, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't fucking matter. The bullets are flying, the president's getting hit, apparently, which I don't think he did. It does not matter. All bets are off. You're going to get shot in the fucking face, or you're going to get told you're going to get shot in the fucking face as you're pointing a camera directly at him from feet away, and some little fucking Jew boy basically ushers them all around, and then the flag drops in the background and all that stuff. And then the added thing, when you look at it more, Trump's on the ground for like 20 seconds, or like 10 to 15 seconds, which is so sketchy. They easily fucking ketchuped up his ear or something like that. And then they're in the perfect position to catch the flag just in the background as it lowers, get that iconic shot of Trump saying fight, 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 which again is 666. And then the guy who died is Corey Complex here, of course. There's your 33, your Audrey, everybody. It's just wild.
Keith, what you just said about the Trump assassination is the same thing as what Building 7 is to 9/11.
In what or you mean how it's
into the smoking gun. I mean, the best right there. I mean, Building 7 is the smoking gun. I mean, there's a million of them, but it's the top one. And it shows, whoa, something's going on here. What you just said, fuck yeah. Secret, with everything you point out, Secret Service, whoa. There you go. False flag. So yeah, your point's great. It triggered my point about JFK. So yeah, I mean,
don't get me going on 9/11 because I can get going.
Oh God, no.
Well, I mean, I just threw in the front of the nest again. I don't want to keep throwing stuff in the nest, but if you go to the 1 minute and 30-second part of that, and again, people don't even need volume. The smoking gun for that. Never mind the fact that the fucking 220 stories of towers disappeared, disintegrated into thin air. But if you take them one at a time, 110 stories each, disintegrated into thin air within, I think it's 8.8 seconds that the towers, which is the thickest steel on top of the thickest steel inside of the thickest steel, disintegrated into thin air. But the smoking gun by far is to the right side at like 1 minute and 25 seconds. There's like a 70-story tall piece of the tower that's still standing. In conventional wisdom and physics say that that piece of the tower would fall over sideways and it would crash a bunch of the buildings to the left or to the right, whichever way it falls. But instead, as people can see, if you go to 1 minute 25, they put an arrow on it, it just poof. It just fucking disappears into thin air. And I have no doubt now from all the research I've done that it was, they call it, I don't know what a cold and hot directed energy weapon difference is, but they call it cold directed energy weapon because there was cars burnt all around there, everywhere. There was, I believe there was like fucking, either way, there was 110 stories.
These thermite detonators crisscross.
Or like, I don't know, 20 to 25, 30 stories high. It was only up to the lobby high that was left over. Like when you watch the building disintegrate in that video up top, that steel just disintegrated. And that cannot be done by thermite. It obviously cannot be done by planes.
You don't think it was thermite detonators?
But they did something. And also there's a hurricane I posted about. There was a hurricane off of the fucking coast. It was about to hit New York City. But just before it did, it got pushed out to sea. There's I'll find it. It's insane. Like there was a massive hurricane going directly towards New York City. And then the day of 9/11, right before, or the night before, it takes a hard right and basically bangs a right towards Nova Scotia because they either use some type of weather modification or some type of energy. Like you cannot disintegrate a building into dust without some type of technology. We all know that DARPA and on them are 40, 50 years ahead of us. And that was one of the first times I used it. And it's a rabbit hole I've been going down a lot more recently because I already knew about it, but it's just fascinating how much we've lied to. And the thing about, like, they say, oh, they have the Israeli, whatever, T-93 or whatever inside the building. Yeah, that actually, from all the research that I've done recently, that is because, and I know it sounds crazy, I wasn't one that believed it, but people said it was Project Bluebeam, it wasn't planes. I know people said they saw it there, but there's been serious evidence that say that the way that the plane was coming was going like 500 plus miles an hour, the tail fin was sheared off. And I know it sounds crazy because I wasn't the snow planes guy, but I believe there wasn't, and where the planes hit was right where those Mossad people were laying the, whatever, in the fucking elevator shaft before the painters or whatever the hell they were, before the towers got hit. And that is basically probably what the hell ever didn't hit the building, the quote-unquote planes that didn't hit the building, those bombs went off, and then it looked like the plane hit it, and then, of course, everyone thinks that the plane took it down, or bombs did. But thermite cannot make steel disintegrate into thin air. It's not possible. Never mind, they've talked about, but I'll shut up after this. They've done collapses of stadiums or whatever, and it has like a Seattle stadium like 10, 20, 30 years ago, had like a 2.2 in the Richter scale, and that was like a quarter of the weight of the Twin Towers, and when the Twin Towers fell, it was like a 1.1 or something on the Richter scale. It barely even registered, so that doesn't make sense either. Never mind, again, there was cars all around the place that were burnt, like, like fucking, like Hawaii in Lahaina and everything. So it's it's some crazy ass shit. I know it is, but it's stuff that needs to be looked into because we've been lied to so much, and there ain't no damn way that a building, a 110-story building, is gonna disintegrate with thermite in fucking 8.8 seconds somehow like that. Again, the thing on the side, 70 stories tall, the building's already gone. Why does it just disintegrate, poof, into dust?
Well, that's the giveaway. The 8 seconds is the free fall speed of gravity. So when you do thermite cuts into a solid steel structure and you turn it into dust, it falls at the speed of fucking gravity. And same with World Trade Center 7. Office furniture fires literally demolished a solid steel skyscraper. It's the biggest lie and biggest it's not even a psyop. It's just fucking common sense that World Trade Center 7 was thermite detonated that day. And the World Trade Centers were also most likely thermite detonated.
Yeah, Trade Center 7 definitely was, I don't know what it was, I'm sure.
It was controlled demolition, it was pulled.
Yeah, 100% pulled.
Authorization from Larry Ellison to do it.
You can look at any other controlled demolition. It's the exact same thing.
World Trade Center 7. The other one, though, I'll find things, I forget what it is, but if it falls at whatever, like if there was a demolition that wasn't a directed energy weapon through thermite or whatever, there's something called the pancaking effect where it would take longer to fall and that it wouldn't take 8.8 seconds. I forget what it was, what Judy would have said, but I forget what the refute to that is because I want to be sure what I'm saying. I'll have to look it up again. But the World Trade Center 7, yeah, that was obviously, and then that's why they put people in 2 camps. That's why this revisit 9/11 thing does a good job. Although they're crybabies about Jews having an influence in it, but whatever, I can still take their word for what it is. And Judy Wood's the only person who's never been interviewed. She's got like a master's degree and a bachelor's degree in like 6 different things that are all specialties on this. And World Trade Center 7, yeah, 100% not an office fire. That's insane. I don't know why Ryan Dawson, of all people, thinks that it was that. That's just, I don't even know why they took down, I think, for other reasons, but that one's obvious. But thermite, 100%. I'll prove it eventually. That's when I dive deeper into it so I can know exactly what I'm talking about. It does not make 110 stories of steel disappear into thin air and just go poof and not land on the ground and stack up 30, 40, 50 stories high like it was supposed to. It just sits there. It's just gone. Everything's just gone. Dust. Boom. Then they somehow find the fucking passport somehow. It just.
Well, don't forget.
Didn't we let China come in and take all that steel?
That's what they say, but that's part of the psyop as well. They say, oh, China came in and they took the steel and everything, but that's been disproven because they weren't there. They weren't there fast enough, and they wouldn't be able to remove all of that steel. And there's guys that were there, firefighters and reporters and stuff that were there. Even George Stephanopoulos, who was a propagandist, was pushing out a lot of propaganda that day. They were there immediately, and they're like, there was nothing there. There was nothing on the ground. There's something too. I forget what it was about desks, toilets, like all these things that should have like been there, whatever. I think that it's one of the two. I forget. There should have been there, and they weren't there, or the other way. Either way, there's also guys that were in like the stairwells that, if it was the pancake effect, would have been dead. They were like 6 to 8 firefighters that were on different levels of the stairwells, from like level 4 to like level 16 or whatever, or higher. And they said that they just remember it collapsing, and all of a sudden they looked up and thought they were in heaven because they saw a blue sky. But then they were like, "Wait, I'm alive. How the hell am I alive? This fucking tower just fell on top of me." So if it was a demolition, it would have fell on top and it would have killed everybody below it. But the fucking thing, as you can see in the video up top, it just turns to dust in midair. It's just boom, poof, disappears. 100% disappears into thin air. Nothing, no steel. And that was the thickest steel in the world. Again, on top of the thickest steel, which is inside of it, and then more steel inside of there. It's absolutely insane, but you know, they had to take my word for it. Go to that thing up there and research it. Anyone can research it themselves and look into it. That's where I got it from, and it's crazy. We've been lied to. But that's where they put us in. Oh, it's a plane, it's this and that, and then the Larry Silverstein thing, because he's a Jew, that plays to as well, where he says, yeah, I said pull it. So then everyone rightfully goes to, oh, well, 100%. There was bombs and everything, and there was thermite, this and that. But you would need, I forget what they did. You would need like 600 gazillion pounds of thermite to do what happened there, and then you would need it all to go up at one time. And then the firefighters, rightfully so, they said, "Oh, well, I heard explosions and stuff." But the thing I was watching the other day on it debunks that, talking about how there's fire extinguishers, there's like in toilets and stuff, or in bathrooms, there's pressurized tanks and stuff, because when you see the building falling, there's like windows that are getting shot out before that, and people are saying, well, that's explosions going off early, but no, that's just the pressure, just poof, just
No,
knocking
that's
things out the window
that
and
is
stuff.
part of the controlled demolition.
I heard a first-hand account of someone who was in the building, and when the plane hit, I guess all the impact from the impact of the plane that shot through the elevator shaft was blowing all the freaking floors, elevators, doors wide open, and there was like nothing but hot, intense flames coming through with the fuel. And he said that some people that were standing in front of the door of the elevator on that floor were just instantly like lit up, like instantly charred. Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Well, don't forget Shanksville and the Pentagon were fakes too. Those were rockets.
2 days ago, he said actually the thermite thing. I'm glad he responded to me. I threw it in the front of the nest and said, what does 100 pounds of termite, or a thermite look like in action look like? And he threw it up in the front of the nest. It's whatever he says. And then Stu had somebody on about it a while ago, I guess, because he's in the thing now. But it's and all these experts, they do it just like with the JFK thing and with everything. They make an industry out of it where everybody's an expert in this and that, and they get platformed, but they don't platform the one woman, Judy Wood. The only person who's talked about her once was PBD. He asked a couple people, but they don't platform her, who's been the one who wrote a book on it called Where the Towers Go, which I've read and was part of the documentary, the like hour-and-a-half long documentary. Where did the fucking towers go? Where did 220 stories of steel go? It just doesn't make sense. And then this is what I was talking about. So there's 50,000 filing cabinets, 500 toilets and sinks, tables, chairs, computers. I believe all of them just somehow that's what it was. All of them so 50,000 filing cabinets, 500 toilets and sinks, missing tables, chairs, people, computers. There was paper everywhere, but all that stuff just disappeared. 50,000 filing cabinets, never mind vending machines, all this stuff. So if that was an explosion from thermite or whatever, or in a controlled demolition, then there would be pieces of toilets and pieces of porcelain toilets, pieces of filing cabinets, pieces of vending machines all over the place, but everything just literally fucking disappeared into thin air. And again, the real smoking gun is that thing at like 1:25, the 70-story tall thing that is still standing after one of the towers falls, and it somehow just fucking literally turns to dust in midair. It should tip over and take out like the whole block around it, but it just goes by out of nowhere. The amount of stuff that was in there.
Yeah, but Keith, it's a picture perfect replica of a controlled demolition. Haven't you seen how buildings go down? They don't fall over; they literally pancake, and that's what happened.
Keith, there's something else. Very soon. Can I?
Yeah, go ahead.
I recall that day. Now, what you said, everyone looked at that. They call it the spear, whatever. It's as Keith says, 1,000-foot pole that poof. Now, look at, and the kite doesn't show this. I recall vividly on the day of 9/11, the South Tower, the first one to fall. When it fell, it initially tipped. How the fuck can it, pancake? What did it tip back and pancake? So we'll take a look at the South Tower when it so-called collapsed with that direct energy weapon. It tipped and to the left. And when I say the top with the so-called plane, I'm not going to get into it, wherever the explosion was, everything above that tipped to the left. And then it turned into dust. So you're going to say, symmetry on the tilt? Yeah. So it's the same fucking thing as Keith is pointing out, not as visible as what Keith points out with the spear, much more visible. But there you go. There's a spear. Same thing. I mean, you're talking about 30 fucking, or maybe 40 stories of the top 40 stories of the towers coming down, as opposed to the North Tower, which the direct energy weapon worked better. It came down symmetrically, better appearance. And I knew something was funny, even though it was when I saw it live. I'm not going to get into that now. The South Tower, though, take a look at that, Keith, and it is exactly what you describe as that 1,000-foot pole. It tilts to the left and just poof, we're talking 40 stories, just symmetrically tilts back to its original position and symmetrically comes down like the North Tower. I'm going to...
I know you would talk about that. You're right. First, DW worked well. It went down perfectly. And the second one at the top, like you said, the top 40 stories just tilted off to the side. So it should have kept going that way, but then it just all of a sudden everything below it just poof disappears into fucking thin air, and then there's a bunch of things in that thread that I threw in the front or down low. This guy does a good job, a really good job, 9/11 Revisited, because that's how they get everybody in every psyop. They get everybody into it was the plane or it was a demolition from thermite and stuff, and then they get a Jew, Lucky Larry Silverstein, to go and say, yeah, we pulled it, and we decided to pull it, which then adds to the, 100% thermite there. And I'm sure there was probably thermite added, but where the T-93 or whatever the hell those Jews were called, those art people or whatever the hell they were, putting bombs inside of the elevator shaft or whatever, that's exactly where the fucking plane's hit. Exactly where it hit. Even the plane doesn't make sense either. It literally goes inside and like the nose comes out the other side. It makes no sense at all. It shouldn't have been strong enough to go through that.
I'm just going to say this, I've done 2 decades of research. In my opinion, without a doubt, they were CGI. I mean, a plane doesn't go through a building like Wile E. Coyote goes through a fucking mountain on Bugs Bunny. I don't mean to be funny, but the truth. It was CGI all the way.
Versus concrete reinforced steel. It's physically impossible. Anyway, just for anyone who cares, I put up my full 9/11 thread. There's like 15 to 20 posts on there with all the evidence in the world, including the CGI claimant and much more. Probably do a space blog. At this pace, I do a space almost every day, but I'll definitely do a 9/11 space. I'm going to invite some of the specialists I interviewed last year. Dan Henley's accountant, and also Richard Gage as well. He's the head of the Architects and Engineers Association, so you can relitigate all the stuff. I mean, there's also another guy that went through the phone calls that were bogus as well, so lots of evidence to review. But yeah, it's clearly a psyop. I've got all the evidence in my thread. It's got over 1 million views. The evidence speaks for itself, man. The dancing's raised, I've been in the right place at the right time. Guys, we'll do another 10 minutes or so, just a quick reset. So, discussing the FC files, episode 17. This was the Mike Jeffries connection for those being late. Definitely check out the space from the beginning. It's worthwhile. Mike Jeffries, of course, was the CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch between around 92 until 2014. And he was running a huge shopping operation under, of course, Sugar Daddy Buzz Meister, who owned the company. Jeffrey Epstein was also overseeing the operations since the IPO and full financial authority as the trusted financial advisor. And yeah, this went on for, they say 2000, but I believe it was probably longer. And then Jeffries, of course, retired. Then got arrested in 2023, 2024 for 2 separate cases. He likely won race drugs. Now he's got dementia/Alzheimer's. May not be mentally fit to stand trial, though he's abused hundreds of boys in this case, but no one seems to care because those are minorities that got abused. It was white men, so always ignored, overlooked. But that's why I felt to raise this issue since, you can see that, when Jews are involved, these huge trafficking cases, whether it's Mike Jeffries or Lars Weiss financing or Jeffrey Epstein, they don't get a lot of attention, so that's why we're giving it the attention it deserves.
No, it's such a good point. The boys still get overlooked, unfortunately. Nobody else.
They're a bunch of gay boys, some of them, and not for their lifestyle, but still, they got fucked over. Because he invited heterosexuals and abused them as well, right? So, anyway, we'll go do a few more hands and call it a night. We'll go for 5 hours now. I'm tired.
Bitch.
Space.
He's a bitch.
Happy events, you got a hand up? Is there any rounds?
He's a bitch, you're right.
He's a bitch,
you're right. Wanted an exclusive.
Yeah.
I just wanted to chime in
He's a bitch. You're right.
someone was talking
Wanted
about
to be
the
exclusive.
CGI plane going to the building. That's an interesting one because I just wanted to comment on that. When I was 11 years old when that whole thing happened, and I remember watching the video over and over. I was watching the whole thing over and over. I remember being a kid and looking at it and thinking, this is strange. It's almost like the plane is phasing through the tower. And at 11, 12 years old, I thought it looks fake. Like this doesn't look the way that colliding pieces of metal would act. And so for years, it was just a private thought to myself. I think that it was either edited into the video or it was a projection or something was going on. And it wasn't until, now I'm 35, it wasn't until recently that I found out there's a common theory that people hold, which to me, it's just an affirmation of my instinct. And I think, like this, clearly, that it was a fake thing that we saw. And now that we actually have the tech to fake it better, well, it's too late. The old video has already been circulated.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm trying to find a thing I was watching a couple days ago, where it shows there's also a bunch of anomalies too, where it shows that there's like the weird UFO, like the looking thing, and I 100% do not believe in UFOs or anything, but there's part of the
He
project
claims he
thing
owns
that I
the
truly believe it is.
copyright.
There's a bunch of random on the right thing trying to find the thing.
We had no discussion.
It just pops up like some little thing some discrepancy, so to say, pops up. And like Drew said, like William said, the planes, like there's pictures, there's memes of plane, like it says 9/11, whatever, hitting a steel building and somehow cuts through the whole thing like butter. But like a plane hits, or a bird hits the front of the plane, and the whole fucking front of the plane is like dipped up and everything. And then they've done the metrics on it, like the plane was coming in at whatever angle at like 562 miles per hour, something like that. And at that angle, the tail fin would have sheared off, and it wouldn't have made it. And also, and then it's like, where do people go? I don't know. That one's a mystery for now. Then there's Shanksville too, where the plane, they allegedly took over the plane, all that stuff, blah blah blah. But there's no debris there, and even there's just so much. And I wasn't a guy, like I said, that's why I was trying my best to admit like what I was. I wasn't a guy that believed it for a while. I'm like, no, there was planes, people have seen it, but I truly believe anyone that saw it on the ground saw Project Bluebeam, which we all know they have. There was something the other day actually that I retweeted that they've been working on, the government's been working on for decades, called the Face of Allah or something like that, where they are going to they want to try to project like the face of Allah into the sky when they're fighting Muslims. So then they'll be like, holy shit, let's not fight anymore because they're seeing something. And we know the technology they have. And it just, again, it doesn't make sense that a plane would just somehow fucking slice through the thing and then it goes through the other side of it. But I get why people have a very hard time, because I myself didn't for a while. I'm like, no fucking way, we see the videos, we see the planes. But again, the technology that we have is out of control. It really is.
It's terrifying.
I was there, and I saw the plane hit, but I was in Hoboken, and a phone call came in prior to the plane hitting and said, it was a driver saying, why is there a plane going down 7th Avenue? So, there's that. And we were looking at the building, like waiting for people, it's headed towards the tower. So, I don't know. But I do know that the driver saw that.
Professional, I found the thing.
Have recreated that have done the exact simulation of that flight trajectory that took place that supposedly struck the tower, the second one. And no pilots ever claimed they could ever carry out that trajectory themselves. They said it was physically impossible. It's just way too risky, especially given the altitude, the speed, that type of impact. They said impossible, there's just no way. That's why I have a hard time believing flights were real.
Yeah, exactly. That's again, that's why I love truth. I love I don't say I love myself, but I love that I can change my mind. I was for a while. That's why I'm open-minded to everything. Because it's like fucking my grandmother was there, like Tisha, other people said they saw it, but it can be fucking Project Bluebeam. It 100% can. I found the thing. It's up in the front of the nest. You fast forward to 3 minutes and 10 seconds. It shows the mystery planes or whatever the hell it shows the UFO thing I'm talking about. This discrepancy that pops out from when the thing comes from the right, and the second plane it says right here, was supposedly going 587 miles per hour. Like Drew said, there was a bunch of pilots that tried to reenact it. They were asked about it. They were all like, yeah, you couldn't direct that plane into the building like that. And again, at the angle that it's coming in, the tail fin would have sheared off at how fast it was coming in. But again, I get it. I know it sounds crazy. Do your own research. Look into the thing that I'm talking about up in the nest. Do whatever. Look through that. I just know that they lie to us, and I know that they love to sit here and say, there's, the plane took it down, and there was planes 100%, you're a crazy maniac for not thinking there was. And again, I was on board with that, or it was, we pulled it, and Lucky Larry Silverstein says we pulled it, which just adds to it, and like firefighters just walking around with a bunch of sticks of dynamite or whatever. They would have to have so much dynamite on it, and the thing that's 4 back in the nest, it shows, or 4 or 5 back in the nest, it shows, like I said, that below it, what thermite actually does, and it doesn't do what the hell the building did, where it just fucking completely disappears in thin air. People are asking, right, so like, what, why didn't it just,
Greg says it would take 26 million pounds of thermite to detonate each building. 26 million pounds of thermite.
And you can put it all in Ziploc bags as powder.
So you got the ET, right? The Israeli art students who had access to the building months prior. The ET, everyone knows the ET, right? The ET had access to...
Yeah, intelligent, the Israeli art students.
They don't have to put thermite all over the building. They just have to put it in the necessary places in order to create a...
Installing it in the elevator shafts.
Exactly, yeah. So they had access. There's documented proof they had access. A lot of first responders reported bombs going off. A lot of first responders reported no planes bombing the building. But even if it was planes, okay, think about military technology. How hard would it be to have an autonomous plane being piloted? You got to think about the pilots that were allegedly the hijackers. First of all, the allegations of the hijackers. These people were trained in Florida in flight schools. These people were like CIA assets. So at the very end, the official story is full of CIA assets.
The Gabra, even though we had no discussion of signing up, he's a bitch, you're right, one of the
At the
exclusive.
very best, it's CIA assets. And then you have the very first victim, I put it in the nest. His name is Daniel Levine. He's an Israeli ex-commando, ex-IDF, former founder of a fucking tech company, which is still
Actually, mine. His name's Daniel
Louis, whichever. But his company basically helped create the idea of hashing on the internet. Like, they controlled early data flowing through the internet. And this guy, supposedly, the first victim, who died in the 9/11 attacks on the plane, he just disappeared off the face of the earth in the attacks. And they say he was the very first victim of 9/11. An IDF commando who was special forces in their military. What are the odds of that? You couple that with Larry Silverstein. You couple that with the dancing Israelis. You couple that with the girl who was interviewed saying, hey, this is what happens in Israel every day while she smiles. You couple that with the fact that 9/11 directly benefited Israel. You couple that with the fact that we invaded countries that Israel was adversarial with. We didn't invade Pakistan. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. But who benefited?
I have something really big. May I pose? I forgot.
Yeah. No, you're
This is really big. I forgot about this. I read this.
really dying things side up, to be honest, because they want us to feel bad for them.
I read this on the internet once. Documented this about 15 years ago. Truth might know. Here it is. I read the mastermind of 9/11, Mossad person, when he found out about it, was in Singapore with his son. When he heard when it was quote unquote successful, he had a bottle of red wine that he toasted with. Has anyone ever heard that?
Yes, I heard that.
I used to know. I'm sorry to interrupt. I used to know his name. At least when it was printed, he was a top Mossad guy. He and his son, allegedly were in Singapore at the time of 9/11 during the attack. When they heard it was successful, this Mossad agent, I wish I could recall his name, ordered a bottle of red wine, made a toast, and his freaking son was there too. This is what I read. I'd like to hear any thoughts. That's it.
Please, I've never heard of it. I've read a lot about it. Everyone knows about drug spilled on September 10th, and announcing that there's been
Oh yeah.
The very next day, hours blow up. Ones that have the financial accounting in it. Now think about this, right? If you were
on the Pentagon.
Yeah, like if you were our
yeah, right. Pentagon, that's so.
Now they say it was fucking Bin Laden. Bin Laden was a CIA asset. He wasn't even a real fucking person. Okay? The only reason that they captured the Bin Laden and they did the raid of his compound was to put a cap on it and basically say, oh, look, problem solved. But in reality, Bin Laden's not a real fucking person. He's a boogeyman, okay? You gotta look at benefited from 9/11. Larry Silverstein is a merchant in this situation. He made a little bit of money, but he was the one that took the risk. He's the one that helped set it up. He's not the mastermind. Look at how Israel was founded. It was founded on terrorism. It was founded with the ear gun and the Lehigh. It was literally founded on terrorism. They were the originators of domestic terrorism. They created it. They were so bad that the Israelis said we're going to make it illegal because you're blowing up too many buildings. And then what did they do? They taught Europeans how to do this. Like it was a big part of the Irish Civil War with England. Like it didn't go away. It just became an export. So people how to commit acts of domestic terrorism. And you could say what happened in 9/11 is very similar to what happened in it's very fucking similar. Look at the backstories. None of it makes any sense. None of it. I mean, like, if you want to throw another conspiracy on top of it, you gotta go with the most likely thing. Like, you could say Project Movie. That just opens up more questions. I think the questions aren't even answered with 9/11. It's the Israelis. It's very obvious that they benefited the most from our involvement in the war. It's so obvious. And whether they did it to intimidate Bush, or whether maybe they did it because they thought they could get away with it. It doesn't really matter.
Oh, Bush was in on it. The thing about Bush that's so wild is what he was doing at the time. He was sitting in a fucking schoolroom reading a book to a bunch of black kids that says "Kite hit steel."
Yeah.
Kite
So there's
hit
a lot
steel,
of
and the kids are reciting it back to him. And it's that famous meme where they're whispering. Dude whispers in his ear, "Oh, something just hit the Twin Towers." As literally, you have kids reading off of their teachers having them read "Kite hit steel," and kite represents plane. So hit steel, like what the fuck? And then like
So
Williams talking about
he was in on it. He was in on it. On the New Jersey side, there were tripods set up all across the Hudson River.
That's footage. I mean,
the tripods. Yes.
Circa 2006 couldn't get that kind of footage. How
Yes.
did they get that footage in 2001? It's insane.
And the
Nobody
white
should
van,
have
the white van,
Would
it
this be
was on its way in, filled with explosions. It was stopped.
What was going on with Building 7? It's just completely
that was
glossed over. So, we don't need aliens to say, like, hey, there was something fishy going on. We know what happened. It was the Israelis. So, any kind of, like, concept that it was aliens, I'm sorry. The only good explanation of aliens for 9/11 is the fact that the Israelis have access to technology that maybe we don't have access to.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's a discrepancy that looks like a UFO and the thing that I threw out there. Like when you go, it's the one I'll throw back from NASA, the book research yourself enough to believe me and everything, but I've done a ton of research on it recently. And I agree with you on everything. I agree. That's why, like, this 9/11 revisit, I'd love to try to get him on his face, because he responded to someone like 10 minutes ago. I think he's something I feel like 10 minutes ago. And he does a good job. Like, he does this whole, I think, in his thing. It's like, oh, it's the Jews or whatever. It's like, no, obviously it fucking is. Yeah, I mean, our government was in it, the CIA was in it as well. They fucking, like I said all the time, Cui Bono, they benefited the most by far. They got the whole quote-unquote war on terror after that. And then they got to wipe out Bush and Cheney and Rumsfeld got to wipe out $2.3 trillion worth of fucking money. And like Glenn was talking about before, going to United, my guy, which is wild. The day before the quote-unquote plane hit the Pentagon, which obviously is not, that's absolutely insane. That was obviously a missile. The day before they shut off the fucking surface-to-air missiles, the air defense, because they were still for routine maintenance.
So that's another thing too. Like, it could have been a plane, it could have been a missile, and if it was a missile, with the archaic like Photoshop ability that we've had like since like the early '80s, it's very easy to go back and doctor up some footage and put it on TV. Like the delay of footage that was on the news, they were able to have time to doctor up some footage. Like it wouldn't take that long for an art student, let alone an Israeli art student, to go on Photoshop in 2001. And again, the stuff that we have access to now, they probably had access to in the fucking 90s. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, look at
40, 50 years ahead.
I mean, it's very obvious.
Yeah, dude, those are crazy. No, I agree, and I agree with everything you're saying. That's why I think in my opinion, the only thing that is a psyop, and again, we'll never know with this one is. That's why I think they say the first one to die that day was a Jew or Israeli or whatever, because then it gets more sympathy for them. Yeah, exactly. But I also real quick, I threw third back in the nest because that's what I was trying to explain before, and this is something I just looked at the other day. This kid actually just responded to 2 seconds ago, to me, the 9/11 revisiting guy just responded because the explosions going out the windows or whatever. Firefighters carry these things. I put a screenshot of it called Scott packs, which are basically the pressurized things on their back, and that's what the explanation seems to be for all those windows that are blown out before, like, the building pancakes on top of itself, because, again, there's, like, things inside the bathrooms or whatever, but real quick, I want to read off the thing. It's only, like, one paragraph. It says, this is where it's just, there's so much shit inside of it. Each tower had 110 floors, 1 acre each, with office equipment, furniture, machinery, toilets, etc. Most of the contents of the towers were never found, so, like, that's what's absolutely insane. I don't know how the hell none of that it does. As you can see, the towers did not collapse in on themselves. They peeled open like bananas. That's what I was trying to explain earlier. I forgot the way that I explained it. They peeled open like bananas, which they did. They just fucking peeled open, disintegrated. So it wasn't a straight up demolition like Tower 7, which that was. They peeled open by like bananas, so there was no quote pile driver, which is what we were talking about earlier. With it was thermite and it was a collapse on top of each other. It would go down like a pile driver, but it wasn't just peeled open to crush everything to dust. Parentheses, they say, which wouldn't happen anyways. The content should have just dropped to the ground, where it still should have been recognizable, even if broken up into pieces, smashed up. Most of it was never recovered. Again, 50,000 toilets, 50,000 or 50,000 things, 3,000, 4,000 toilets, vending machines, everything just disappeared anywhere. Why do we not see 3,000? Porcelain toilets, like it says, desks, computers, vending machines, doors, staircases, catering equipment, chairs, tables, filing cabinets, etc., scattered all over the place. And so there's that. Again, like William said, the smoking gun is that thing on the side, still standing up that goes poof. And the fact that 220 stories of steel just turned into a lobby, like 2 stories full of steel.
If you want to look at what happened to all this stuff, just look at Gaza right now. That's the same fucking strategy. It's bombs. Now, the idea of thermite, like Jesse Ventura went over like thermite paint. The problem with that is it's so labor intensive. They would never have had access to be able to do all of that. And if so, it wouldn't have been that effective.
Yes.
You can put different types of charges on major beams, major columns within the building. There's enough maintenance, enough access where entire floors were shut down for maintenance, which is a very common thing with those kinds of buildings. Like, the entire 3 or 4 stores at any given time get shut down for maintenance. So why do you go close to the toilets? Have you ever cracked the toilet? It turns to dust. Like if you take a sledgehammer to a toilet, it'll turn to dust. Let alone a bomb or all that pressure and all that heat. But like, you gotta zoom out. Like, there's a lot of questions. Like, what happened to the vending machines? That is like saying, hey, what happened to all the passports on the plane? How about this? How the fuck did the passport survive with the terrorists, with the black box and the dumpster fire? It just doesn't make sense. There's no logical explanation for that. They found a perfectly intact passport for a terrorist, and they said, case closed, here's the smoking gun, but there's no black box. The black boxes are engineered to be indestructible in the event of an attack. So it just doesn't make sense. And then you say, who benefited? Who benefited? Iraq didn't benefit. Afghanistan didn't benefit. Who the fucking made money on this deal? It's only people in the Middle East that had the money to protect. Like the Saudis made money, the Israelis made money, and the aristocrats in the United States made money. But it was not for the benefit of the public. It was not for the benefit of the youth that went to war. It was not for the benefit of the first responders. And a great way to destabilize a country, our own, is to kill a bunch of strong men like first responders and set an example like this is what's going to happen if you don't comply. So whether George Bush was like submitting to it, he was in on it, or it was like the pagers that exploded. Like Netanyahu gifted a pager to Donald Trump and said, hey, here you go, have this, put this on your fucking shelf. It's a threat. It's either a threat or a reminder, but either way, it's intimidation. So no matter which way you slice it, look at who benefits and look at the tactics they'll go to. They'll go to any last resort to prove a point.
Yeah, no, I agree. Like I say, we want to know who benefits. Yeah, obviously Israel did. I fully agree. There's no doubt about it, obviously. That's why, like we both just said, them being the quote-unquote victims and the first person dying. And then the black box thing, it makes more sense now when they say that there wasn't planes. Like Truth was talking about, people tried to simulate it, and the plane couldn't have gone in at that mile per hour and at that, without the tail pins shearing off and many other things. Never mind, it goes through the whole thing. But I get it. But again, you don't have to believe me. You can go over the nest, bookmark those things, and do your own research, go on that thing, because that's what I did, and then I changed my opinion on it once I saw more stuff, and I said, oh yeah, shit, this actually makes a lot more sense.
One more thing I never thought
about. Why won't anyone talk to Judy Wood? That's what's really wild. Like, she's literally asked so many people, like, hey, will you have me on your podcast? Like, so many, but they'll have everybody else on besides her, the only one that has said, where the fuck did the towers go? They literally just disappeared.
Would you be willing to interview Judy Wood?
Absolutely, yeah. Like,
we should set that up. Fuck it, let's set that up.
I know, the only person, well, this guy 9/11 revisited, had his thing on. He's got his DMs up. I don't know if if this person knows Judy Wood. I don't even know. I don't know how I'd get in contact with her, but absolutely, I'd fucking love to.
I have a, also Whitney Webb is a good one too, but so I have one last hypothesis I never thought about this, just talking out loud, thinking out loud. You gotta think about this, right? If I was going to infiltrate the World Trade Center and try to bomb it, which they already did in 1993, before Waco, before Oklahoma City, they did this tactic, okay? Now, if I was going to go try to do something, don't you think somebody would see? Don't you think someone would call the police? If there was something suspicious going on in a major metropolitan city in the world, like New York City, if somebody saw something, they probably would.
Look, they just replaced the elevator companies. They used the East elevator instead of Otis in '94, and that's how they use their own text wheel and install the dynamite. It's not a mystery, man.
No, here's what I'm saying though. If somebody saw something suspicious, they probably would have made a police report, called the cops, had security footage, and you gotta think, who would have been the first responders who responded to that issue? Who would have been the most likely to remember, like, wait a second, there was a lot of alarm calls, there was a lot of suspicious behavior. So, like, if you kill a couple thousand first responders in the area, it kind of covers your tracks. You know, like, if anybody would have known something suspicious was happening, it probably would have been the New York Police Department. It probably would have been the fire.
You know, a lot of that
the FBI.
bombing. All right, guys, look. Again, you guys are really, these points are a bit weak. It's made all the strong points. Anyways, I'll set up a space for 9/11 while bringing some of the experts. I've already relitigated 9/11 to death many times over, so we'll do the proper another day. But I do want to shut down the space. I've gone like more than a half hour past when I want to shut down. Anyway, I want to thank Keith and Joanne for hosting the space, along with all the speakers for their contributions. Thank you to the super chats as well. Appreciate it all, and definitely check out the Mike Jeffries.
Thank you.
You'll have a better understanding of the Epstein files, along with, you know, Ross Wexler was sugar daddy both to, of course, Mike Jeffries, Epstein himself, and to Howard Ludnick as well. He's a true financier.
I guess I'll
Here's those interests first.
People want to come by. I'll open the space up and see if maybe Dimitri Boy will come by. He said possibly, but thank you, I appreciate it.
All good. Anyway, guys, all the best. God bless. I'm gonna get some rest. Thank you.
Adios.